So I was afraid of that.
It'll be fine.
He's like Sheldon.
There's some of this going
There'll
on.
be some up in there. Was it because of the
Oh, thank you.
Desk.
not all?
Yeah, and
I had a digital copy, I don't think
the plotter. There's a plotter. Maybe.
commissioners only have one of these, so
Okay.
that's officially what the proposal is.
Tell Jared, get that thing out of here. We'll smoke that.
Joyce's place. I have to have that.
Sweet.
What did they use it for?
Print all the
Banners.
sections and
Oh,
banners that the
yeah. Well, yeah, well, they have to have that.
It was way more cost effective. I remember
Yeah.
why, 'cause it was way more cost effective.
Because they have it, do different ones every year. Yeah.
So I figured
Are we ready? Nope.
No,
Yeah.
they
okay.
changed my computer. And they're trying to.
Oh, yes. yeah.
Justin's gonna have to run the stream from
His
his end.
hand. Okay.
He's close though. He's just getting into that machine.
All right. Let us know.
Yeah, we're okay. Do you have? Can you hear this coming through the stream? Could you hear that, Justin? Or can you see the audio bouncing? All right. And you're streaming? And you're streaming? And you're streaming? Okay. All right, Commissioner. I think it's
Ready?
ready to go.
Okay.
Thank you, Justin. Yep.
I guess we're ready to go, and I'd like to welcome everybody here to Iron County Commission meeting. Monday, the 23rd day of May, 2022. And thank you. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes of 4/25/2022? Oh, yes.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I threw you off. That was
threw
my
you-
bad.
You did. We're going to have a prayer first by Mike Blake, and Paul will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, as we meet today as citizens and officials of Iron County, we're truly grateful for the opportunity that we have to enjoy our freedoms of an open government. We're grateful for the prosperity in our county and pray that thy Spirit will continue to be with us. We're thankful for the moisture that we have received and ask thee to please continue to bless us, that our streams and reservoirs may fill and we'll have water to take care of our land. Father, we ask thy Spirit to be with us today as we make decisions, and that we can be mindful of all of the aspects of the results of our decisions and help us to do the best thing for Iron County. Father, again, we're grateful for all of our many blessings and pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Would you please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mike, for the prayer, and Paul for the pledge. Now we can have a approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. And what was the date on those?
4/25,
4/25,
22.
22.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's have an approval of the claims for payment.
I'll move for approval of the claims of payment from May 9th, 2022 to May 22nd, 2022.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion move. Carries. Okay, let's move on to our departmental reports. John, do you want to go first?
I do.
Okay. While John's walking up there, I just want to tell everybody I brought our little prairie dog because we took it off the off our agenda that has been on there for many years, and this is a momentous occasion. So we haven't had anyone come and talk about prairie dogs for quite a while. So
I think it predated all three of the commissioners here in their service, but it featured every single commission meeting for years. And it reflects a cooperative effort between the local and federal people and the state, and some creative things. I was glad to even observe that. It made my heart happy. I was also glad that I was able to stall for a minute because Jeannie went and got the report that I didn't get that done bring that up because I was hustling with the other things.
The prairie dogs were my the first time that I was the commission chair. That's the first meeting that I've had mobs with pitchforks and torches.
Oh wow!
That I had to deal with in leading that meeting.
That's right.
The first time, unfortunately, not the last that I've been yelled at.
The torches and pitchforks. It kind of comes with the job.
It's fine.
Yeah. You know, I think the statute of limitations is passed, but when I was a kid, I don't know if you should start a comment like that. That's how we sighted in our 22s because they stood up. You knew if you were right and left, you could get them. But
I can't believe you just said that, John.
I don't know. Like I say, I don't know.
There might not be a statute of limitation from the feds.
That's true.
Care about that.
That's true.
George said it was murder, so.
He never said that he was the
We're
one
in
doing
LaSalle
it.
Judge.
Just saying we
Blacktop.
generally,
Yeah, speaking in generalities.
Oh, there you go. I'm afraid this has left the rails here. Okay.
On to John's report.
So every other report or so, I like to kind of give a little bit more numbers. The solid waste accounts, we are up 156 from last year. Comparatively, we had 3,918 accounts. Marriage licenses, we have 167. They are up 11. For some reason, it feels like a lot more, doesn't it, Jeannie? We did 7 on Friday. It's we had sugar on our door, I think, honey on our door. Certified marriage license, which is to say when people call in and ask for a copy of their certified marriage license, that was 113, which is down by 4. The business licenses are up. Year over year, it's an increase of 28. We have had 294 new licenses. Passports, we really have had honey on our door with that. We've got 180 so far this year, and that's up 61. A few years ago, we started offering pictures, and we have done 167 pictures so far, and that is to say the passport photos, and that's an increase of 56. Sewer impact fees, is no surprise, those are up by 24 year over year for a total of 59. And we have the insignificant parcel surplus list, which is 23, a significant increase. And this might be a little confusing, but the active number of voters is actually down a little bit by 805. There are several reasons for that. They kind of peak around the presidential election. And also, one of the changes that we do and happens statewide is the NCOA, National Change of Address Database. Basically, we cross-check our voter rolls against that and purge people that have moved. And it's not that simple. We actually follow up with them. We try to reach out to them. We spend a tremendous amount of effort and money trying to keep those people on that should be and get those people off that should not be. At some point, I'd like to come and have a discussion about the ERIC, which is the interstate voter database to help prevent fraud. From the NCOA changes, the National Change of Address, we actually processed 917 of those. And this may sound like a crazy number, but this is actually kind of typical. We've had 2,892 voter registration forms that we've processed this year. That's an increase of 753, but people use voter.utah.gov and their driver's license flows through, and so we get a lot of voter registrations, which we love because we'd rather have it be up to date. I don't have it in front of me in my hustle this morning. I didn't print it out, but we are doing well on our budget. We try to be conservative in all that we do, but we are not immune to inflation, and I just am a bit worried about a few of these expenses that we're going to have throughout the year. And we're doing okay now, but I'm a little worried because of inflation, and nothing seems to get cheaper. And then finally, we're staring down now the as you all are acutely aware, this primary season is upon us. The primary will be June 28th. The ballots will go out about June 7th, and do you have any questions about the election? Any concerns from your constituents? You want to bring up Mike? You looked thoughtful. I wasn't sure.
No.
Okay.
How's that? No.
All right. Well, I won't take any more time.
The only thing
yes.
I've had some comments, but they've all been super positive to Iron County. I mean, there's some distrust of
Right.
elections in general, but everybody has faith in us
Well,
that I've talked to, and that hasn't been a lot. I mean, it hasn't been a major conversation, but every once in a while, people mention that are pretty glad that we're in Iron County, and that's not something that we have to
I
worry
appreciate
about.
that, and we try we do outreach. We try to show people our process and kind of roll back the curtain a little bit. We have done a few of those presentations. We plan on doing more. And if anybody in the public or in any kind of office or candidate wants to ask questions about the process, we are eager to answer them, because most people generally, when we go through that, are surprised at the level and number of controls. A lot of the things that they hear about or are worried about simply aren't possible because of the controls that are in place. And it's like I tell people, it's not a perfect system, but we have a fairly robust one. And there is no such thing as a perfect system, but we do our best to make sure that everyone has a chance to vote, every vote counts, nobody is able to vote fraudulently. And anyway, thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay. Human resource. Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. That's good.
Good morning. We'll start off on a positive. This week we received a PHP rebate check of $81,912, which is amazing because last year we only received a $46,109. So we're kind of on par with where we were in 2020, which was $86,797. So that's a pretty good rebate check from the LGRP. We'll start budget. We're currently under budget. Don't see any for current or anticipated budget concerns. We pretty much stay under. Hiring, since our last report, we posted, interviewed, and hired 5 full-time positions and 4 part-time positions. 1 full-time corrections deputy, 1 full-time patrol deputy, 1 full-time fair event director, 2 full-time roads maintenance workers, 1 part-time Parowan activities director in the Council on Aging, 1 part-time Meals on Wheels driver in Council on Aging, 1 part-time fairground maintenance technician, and 1 part-time natural resources technician. Currently, we're in the process of recruiting and hiring for the following positions: 1 full-time cadastral mapper in the recorder's office, 1 full-time medical technician deputy in the Sheriff's Office Corrections, 1 full-time deputy in Sheriff's Office Corrections, and 5 full-time deputy ones in the Sheriff's Office Patrol, 1 part-time deputy bailiff, Sheriff Patrol, 1 part-time IT technician, 1 full-time landfill technician, and 1 part-time secretary in the Sheriff's Office Patrol. Turnover since last January, or this January, I guess I should say, May of 2022, is 6.5% or 14 positions. Compared to the same time frame of last year, we were at 6.64 or 16 positions. With the help of the IT department, we were able to obtain software for employee onboarding, which will help our department tremendously with obtaining new hire documentation. I was honored to be invited to attend the Boss Lift event at Dugway last month, which recognizes the valiant effort of our Iron County employees who serve in our nation's military. It was great to spend the day recognizing their service in the armed forces. It was a great event. So there's some amazing photos of me shooting several weapons. So if you want to see those.
Ooh, that's nice.
Never thought I would ever say that. In June, Dan Arnoldson with Workman's Comp will be leading our department head meeting. We'll training in identifying needs to promote safer work practices. We've been working towards implementing the new EAP services with Blomquist. I always say it wrong, hell. We'll be having a department head meeting on that as well to train all of our supervisors on best ways to implement those services. And I want to thank you for seeing the need of doing that mid-year. I think it was very important to get that started, so thank you for that. We've had some milestone anniversaries this quarter. 5 years service is Jason Thomas in the Sheriff's Office Patrol, Grant Oxenrider in the Road Department, Junior Tufuga in the Sheriff's Department, Corrections, and Trevor Madsen in the Road Department. Celebrating 10 years are Adele Lloyd in the Recorder's Office and Matt Carter in the Road Department. And then 20 years is Doug Twitchell in the Sheriff's Patrol. So, do you have any questions for me?
No.
Thank you very much, Jennifer.
And I'll
You're
see you at
doing
the
a
end.
great job.
You bet.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jennifer.
Okay, we'll move to George. Emergency management. Thank you.
People ask me sometimes, what do I do for a living? I say I go to meetings and I go to disasters. Of the two, I prefer disasters. Going to budget first, we're pretty much online like everybody else. John mentioned inflation has set in, so but now that we're certainly with the thanks to Wade and everybody who got us on the state fuel, doing much better on that category. I mean, I could have run through that very quickly, but thanks for that. So,
And we increased that also at budget time last year, but not enough, I guess. But
well,
with the new fuel, that's awesome.
even with Wade's efforts in that, it still costs
Yeah.
more money than it did last year. So, but much
right.
less than it would if we were buying it out on the market.
Right.
Okay, so since my last quarterly report, I attended a Rocky Mountain Power tabletop exercise. Also worked between Cedar City and Rocky Mountain Power to get a MOU for the use of the Heritage Center in case of a major long-term power outage. Thanks to help from the Southern Utah Health Department, I got 20 backboards to Gold Cross, was able to provide them with 20 backboards. I submitted for my 2022 Emergency Management Preparedness Grant. I attended the Governor's Energy meeting with Commissioner Blake. I won't mention what I said to the Governor's staff. So
I don't remember, so it's fine. It was fine at the time. Whatever he said, it was fine. But
Wasn't too bad, huh?
got some of those young kids back on their heels.
what I said, no, I won't say. So during the big storm we had, where we had that one day we had all the wrecks on the freeway, UHP requested me to help with traffic control. So I worked traffic control most of that day with UHP and with the sheriff's office. I attended the Utah National Guard change of command and world situation report briefing, arranged for ICS for elected officials, and thank you all of the commissioners for attending that. I hope it was worthwhile. And we had representatives from Kane County and other counties, Washington County, I think, and
Beaver.
So I think it was worthwhile. Range, I'm in the process. I'm already got some phones hooked up in the county. I'm working with the federal government to arrange for priority use for law enforcement and fire, so that in an emergency they can get on their cell phones and bump everybody else off for priority calls. And I've got just about all the sheriff's department and some of the fire departments already set up for that. I attended a Department of Homeland Security extreme weather briefing, Department of Homeland Security supply chain briefing. I supplied, thanks to the health department again, supplied law enforcement and local fire with Narcan, getting them all the Narcan they need. Was at a Department of Homeland Security telecommunications security meeting, and I've got 3 connexes now. I've cut off the connexes because after talking to Commissioner Cousins, may go a different direction than building a wooden frame. We may go with a Quonset hut over and using the 3 I've got now as bases, as support, and put a Quonset hut over that. And that
Did you look into that?
I've looked into it. I haven't called them. I'm going to have to get with Bruce and Justin and kind of figure out, because I'm not an engineer, and I got to figure out what the spacing is and what I'm going to really need to provide cover for that.
If you call the Quonset hut people, they could probably give you a lot of that information, and that was intriguing. Didn't you think that idea?
At first I thought, and then the more I looked at it, I thought, it's not a bad, and it's probably more solid than a wooden frame.
Gives you a good height in the middle for something tall. And
Yep.
I would say we've used a lot of those Connex boxes. They get hot inside, so if there's anything inside, you may want to put some type of just something over the top of that to shade them somewhat. Maybe you'd want to do the Quonset clear over the
to the outside
edge.
edges.
Well, the front of the Quonset hut, I think I'd leave open and not closed, and so any kind of breeze in there would probably cool it down a little bit. But I'll.
Well, what she's talking about, George, is that picture showed it to if you have a Quonset here and here, the roof showed it going to the inside of the Quonset.
Right.
She's talking about bringing it over the top so it gives that shade.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to do.
Yeah, it really helps a lot, and it bakes in there. We've had to put stuff over ours because it just gets too hot for the 4-wheelers or whatever
Okay.
you put in them. Yeah.
All right.
So
And so I was at the Southwest Utah Public Health tabletop exercise, participated in that. I participated in a national dam exercise. It was actually for dam security. I'm working with the commission, and with Cedar Highlands, their HOA, on proposals for a helipad and a firehouse. I've got a commitment from Chief Phillips to provide a fire truck up there that's filled with water, so that we could. It's much faster to get a crew up by pickup and into a vehicle that's already up there, an engine that's already up there, than it is to try to get an engine up that's full of water. So that's one answer for some of the Cedar Highlands problems. I was at a cybersecurity and infrastructure agency. That's part of Department of Homeland Security. Their threat briefing. Again, the Southwest Utah Public Health Regional Coalition meeting. After one of our briefings, one of the Homeland Security briefings, I purchased dosimeters. I've got 6 dosimeters for the county now. And if you wonder why I got dosimeters, that's to make sure that its radiation is down to a reasonable level so you can go outside. You probably don't want to think too much along those lines about why would you need to figure out why the radiation's down. I wrote the debris annex to my emergency operations plan. attended the Holly Energy tabletop exercise. The state's recently reopened their special needs registry, and I applied, and the sheriff and Chief Phillips are the other two points of contact in this county besides me. I was asked to, the state is changing their web EOC. They're somewhat, and they're bringing a new system. I was asked to be part of that initial committee that was looking at whether or not that was a good system. CISA, the Critical Infrastructure and Cybersecurity Agency, came down and talked to John's staff. I was part of that meeting, talking about election security. At the last regional task force meetings, Chief Phillips and I were able to get $6,000 in grant money, and we're building law enforcement a CS training facility out at Chief Phillips training site. I'm been asked to speak at the USIP conference on Thursday, so I'll be there. And I've been working along with my ECOM and my CERT people on preparing that CERT trailer. We're completely rebuilding it so that in case we lose the public safety building, we've got radios in there and everything. We can actually run the county's dispatch out of my CERT trailer. It's becoming quite a project. It's kind of like the money pit. But I've talked to Jennifer and Zach both, and they've come over. Zach came over and took a look at it. They're really pleased with. We're trying to make it as comfortable as possible if we ever have to use it, insulating it, and we're already have plans that once it's finished, we're going to do an exercise. Actually, pull a couple of their dispatchers out, pull it to a remote location, and have them dispatch from our trailer. So, and I think that's about it.
Very good.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
All right.
Good job. I guess Curtis isn't here
He'll be here toward the end.
toward the end.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go ahead and you want to go first today, Paul?
Sure.
Commission reports. Oh. We got Wade.
Oh, okay.
What did I do? Leave you out? How did I do that?
It's easy to do.
Get up here. Wade Fleet. Now I'm just getting in a hurry.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm the big one in the back.
You'd have been just fine if they'd passed you over, huh?
I didn't miss you. I already saw you was back there.
It's just a small little fleet right there on the agenda. It's hard to see there. So, well, budget-wise, we're well under budget because the vehicles still ain't coming in yet. We're still waiting for last year's order. Ford has shut down their ordering until the fourth quarter. So we're looking at some Chevrolets now, which they have a high resale value. And I know there's been some concerns at the Sheriff's Department in the past with some issues with Chevrolets and clearance and transmissions overheating and stuff like that. But we're gonna look into that a little bit more. Possibly go with the diesel, and we'll see what works best. So the fleet pool program is up and running good. So everybody that's been using that's been doing an awesome job, making my life a lot easier, job a lot easier, tracking everything. The surplus vehicles that we got from out in Burl and Modena area, those have all been sold. So those are all moved on and good on the auction, especially on a couple of those. And then there was 5 other surplus vehicles that we've had from the Sheriff's Department that we've moved on and got those sold. We still got 8 more to put on there. The new lift we got installed and operating now and working well. And then our fuel card system. Switched over now and in place and functioning well. There was a few hiccups at first, but nothing serious, and so the fuel site at the road department is switched over. They got it switched over last week, so it's working this morning. So
Good.
So other than that, I think that's all I have for now. So if you guys have any questions?
Got your lift installed and going? You like it?
Yep,
Working good.
it's gonna work good. So
Good.
Good.
Hey,
Okay, thanks, Wade.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Wayne.
Okay. Yes.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask John a couple of follow-up questions. John,
Let's. It might be good to do that offline.
Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to try and address
Well,
them now.
I
but-
just was concerned about your comment about inflation. I remember the old story that a rising tide raises all ships, and rising fuel prices raise just about everything else as well. So
Does.
that was my concern. I'll let you address that either now or
Well,
offline.
I can tell you, the only thing we really can do is tighten our belts a bit, because things aren't going to get less expensive, and so we need to, I feel strongly that the taxpayer taxes that are collected are sacred, and we need to be careful about how we use those, and you have to balance that against being able to accomplish the government business. And so we need to meet our statutory obligations, but we need to do it in as efficient way as possible. Say that 10 times fast.
This new program that we just went on for the county that Wade just talked about, I don't know where he is, but
He stepped
he
out.
stepped out for a minute, but I think it's around $2 savings.
Yeah.
Per gallon?
It's what we're able to do is not have the additional taxes on there where we're a government entity, and we are able to save that. That's not always been the case, and so amongst the other programs, that's been good. Another advantage of this fleet program is with this approach. I think Dan's original cost estimates were between $250,000 and $350,000 a year savings for the county, just in managing those vehicles in this new way.
Great.
I mean, there's a lot of examples of that happen, and we don't always toot our horn. Maybe we ought to toot it more, but we try to leverage efficiencies, and as we grow, there are opportunities to leverage economies of scale as well, and so.
Practice tooting your own horn. There's lots of people ready to yell at the rooftop every time something goes wrong. But when things go right like this, maybe a little press release or whatever might be in
Sure.
order.
It
All
probably
right, thank
would
you
be.
very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Volney. Okay, Council on Aging, Curtis.
I didn't see him slip
He
in.
got here just in time.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, both the,
Do you do these this newsletter
Newsletters.
every month?
yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
I don't know that we've seen that before.
Oh, haven't you? Okay, yeah, we're
It's very nice.
doing that for a long time, but thank you. Both the Cedar and the Parowan centers are doing well. The number of meals are served and the activities are growing. Presently, the Cedar is serving around 55 people in our congregate or lunch meals, and around 15 Meals on Wheels. The Parowan Center is serving around 30 congregate meals and about 50 Meals on Wheels. These numbers are about 20% higher than they were a year ago, and it's growing constantly. Our activities and attendance continue to grow both the Cedar and Parowan, especially in our Parowan Center. We We have a new activity director, and she's just really on fire. She's done a tremendous job. Within the last couple of months, she has started the new classes, including beginning yoga class each week, a chair yoga, a service craft class, a rock painting class, a movie afternoon, as well as the trips to Cedar for shopping and bingo. And so we're really happy with Parowan. Parowan's been really difficult for us to really get started and moving. It flares up and then it kind of dies down. So we're hoping that will go real well. Next item here is probably the best news to report to you. We've reported before that there's some extra funds sometimes become available through the 5 counties. We get down toward in the springtime, and if they have money left over, then toward the end of the contract year, then they'll divvy that out. And I have learned through the years that we have a meeting about in February, and sometimes they just kind of mention that a little bit, but I've learned how to pick that up. And so they say, well, we've got maybe some extra funds coming up. And so I came up with 4 wish lists that we'd like to have for our department. And they told us the beginning, well, we could probably get 1 or 2 of those, but I just jumped right on that real fast, and before the other counties do, because sometimes they drag their feet a little bit, and then I follow up with a lot of phone calls and be nice and stuff like that. Anyway, this particular year they gave me all 4 that I requested. And they said, well, nobody else has been requesting, so we'll just give it to you.
Awesome.
And anyway,
awesome.
So the breakdown that we received, this is extra beyond what we have. We received on our meal trays $23,000. Normally they do give us money for meal trays, but usually it's about $12,000, and I just doubled it to see what would happen. And they gave me the whole $23,000 as 2-year supply, so felt good about that. A dishwasher for Parowan for $9,000, a hot food server for Cedar for $2,500, and a big screen TV for Parowan $800. And that was $35,300 extra money that we weren't expecting. And then on top of that, we also apply for a SSBG as a grant, and this year they gave us $10,000 for that. That grant is based upon how many seniors we take on the bus. It's a transportation type of grant. We were able to get that full $10,000 by December, and so that's normally about what it happens. And they said, well, we still have some money left over in that grant if you want to reapply. So I reapplied for it, and they gave us another $9,000. And we were able to get that $9,000 by this month, May. We've received it all. So between the $9,000 and that $35,000, that was $44,300 that we picked up from them. So that's better than a stick in the eye, I thought. So we're really happy with that.
Awesome.
The kitchen fan, we've had a problem with that since our construction a year ago. We have the county maintenance department, Lister and Nathan, have been working really hard on that. I've just really been pleased with them. With the company, they've been up a lot of times measuring and doing things, and so their goal is to try to get that in this month, but they're still waiting for the fans to had a little difficult time getting those. But anyway, I feel like that we're on track with that quite well. And a couple more items. Our vehicle fleet, all the vehicles are in good shape, no problems. We're in the process of having them all maintained, oil changes and that kind of stuff. Our buildings are all well maintained and are doing real well. Might just mention a few months ago we changed the Cedar Center part-time janitor. wasn't working out too well, and for an outside janitorial service, we tried the same company that does most of the buildings for Iron County. But that just turned out, for us, not very well. It was just absolutely nightmare. And so I was able to find another company, and that is just working out fantastic. We've just been really happy with it. This company furnishes its own equipment and its own chemicals and that kind of stuff. And even the very next day after we had this new one in, we had lots of people come up saying, "Do you have a new janitorial service? We've never seen the
One
floors
day.
this clean." And so, yeah, they're just immaculate. We're really happy.
Good news.
Staffing, we're fully staffed. Employees seem to be happy and motivated, and things are going real well.
Curtis, on that cleaning, how does that compare to the cost of having an employee do it?
It's almost the same. It's just a little bit more, but then they're they're paying for their own cleaning supply. So I'm watching that a little bit. I think it's going to come out about the same because of that.
Sounds like they're
Yeah.
doing a great job.
The problem we've had with that, since with our construction, we doubled the size of the building, but with our part-time janitor, just one person, then this other company would just send one person, a college girl or something that way, and we kept telling them, you cannot do a building for an hour or two and just expect it done. And that was the problem. Then their people, they just kept quitting all the time because they didn't.
We maybe ought to get this new company that you've got and refer that to Reed, because I know some of the other buildings were having the same
Oh, were they? Okay.
issues. So,
This is just fantastic, but they
Yeah.
have 4 people.
oh wow,
So we're seeing things done that we've never
Great.
seen.
that's
great
really
news.
good.
Yeah, so we're
Cool.
okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that. Our budget, the last budget, showed that we're doing well. We're meeting all of our obligations around time. Overall, our budget percentage is where it should be right now, but we're very concerned, like I'm sure everybody else is, the cost of the inflation, the food, the fuel, and so forth. We're watching that real close, looking for sales and things like that, and cutting back where we can. But other than that, right now we're doing very well and don't have any real issues at this point. Any questions?
No, just really
Nope.
appreciate how you make it work.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, we
I
sure
appreciate
appreciate you.
that. Yeah,
It's a tremendous
Hey,
service.
thanks.
Okay.
Curtis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis.
Okay, now we can finally go to commission report.
There we go.
Yeah.
So our bleachers are installed. They're 100% done. They look great. Talking to the contractor, he said we were very fortunate to have completed that when we did. He said that those would have probably cost close to double had we waited much longer with inflation and what's happened with aluminum and other supplies. Carter Enterprises will be back on the 30th to pour the retaining wall and that apron. Then they'll get the railings up. Hopefully they can get that accomplished quickly. We're looking to do an RFP on some new grass, new sprinkling system for that. So that's coming along good. I just wanted to mention Sheriff Benson, former Sheriff Dude Benson, called me about a month ago and asked about. There was an officer named Ed Dare that Commissioner Blake would probably know him a lot better than I did, but his life was taken in the course of duty with a vehicle accident near the airport, and he would like us to erect a monument in his honor. I guess the 20-year anniversary of that is coming up in, I believe, July, and he asked me if I could help him build something, and I told him I'd be happy to. So I just wanted to mention that to everybody else, and
I can't believe that's been 20 years. Holy
No, I can't either.
Holy
It was
cow.
the accident was right by our farm,
Right.
just the entrance
That
to
was right
our
next
farm.
to your farm.
Yeah.
so I told him I'd be honored to help with that. Put maybe something like the High Patrols, something with some 4x4s and make it look real nice.
Where did he want to locate that at?
We need to decide that, just right there where it happened, I think, and I don't know how. We'd have to, see what we'd need to do there. We'd have to talk about it. So. and I know this is an agenda item in the next meeting, but there was some Brianne Veeder had approached us for some a $10,000 per year for 5-year expense. I did some research. We met in our behavioral health meeting this last couple weeks, and I brought that up in our board meeting. We held that over in Panguitch, and it's some good news. So there was an opioid settlement with the opioid manufacturers, and these are rough numbers, but I believe it's about $120,000 we'll receive for the next 18 years. And this is a perfect expense to use that money for, is for prevention. And so that was good news. And I've got
10 years, sorry?
And it's rough, $120,000 for 18 years. But I've got an MOU that Michael Deal sent me, and I can forward that on to you, John, too, for the minutes. But it lists things that you can use that money for, and this is would be a perfect. The Prevention Coalition, and they have one of those in Panguitch operating, and they love it. It's working great. I wanted to take a minute and talk about something here. There's been a lot of talk around that we haven't updated our general plan since 1995, and I want to address that for a minute. It's interesting. I've been involved in updating these plans in my public service over the last 10 years. A lot of times you'll go into a meeting and spend a few days updating the whole thing, and then soon after you'll have to change it because the market forces change. And an example of that is Cedar City just spent 2 years on their general plan, and a week later they changed it. And I think the more responsible way to address general plans is each element as they arise. There are some long-term planning that has to take place. One of the most important things we do as a commission is we appoint members of the Water Board, Central Iron County Water Conservancy District, and they're charged to look out 50 years to make sure our kids and grandkids and all of us have sufficient water, because these things take a long time. So there's elements like that have to be planned out a long time in advance. But general plans are not something you plan and then set in. They're not set in stone for 20 years. They evolve. They change. When I was first elected, we were working heavily on the belt route on 5700 West. That's you guys all know the belt route that goes south to Hamilton Fort. This leg would go north around Enoch and eventually tie into a new interchange on I-15, and so that's something we worked on for a couple of years when I was first elected, and that's a long-term plan so that we can acquire right-of-ways, easements. We can use corridor preservations funds to acquire that property that we need. Other developers and landowners can plan what they need to do so they don't build solar panels right where our route's going to go, or a subdivision, and then we later have to go in and buy easements. So those are things that are changing all the time. We're currently doing a septic density survey for Summit and Newcastle. That's part of our plan, and we'll adjust that when the report comes back. There's been a lot of talk about a jail and where we put that. If we did put it on the North Interchange, with the other development that comes in, it could impact the Enoch sewer system, and there might be some upgrades that have to take place. And as those things happen, we'll hire engineering firms to look at that, and those are all things that we have to look at. Some of the other things we're looking at, bad case of dry mouth sometimes. We just barely revised our flood channel ordinance. We found that when we had the monsoonal events last year, we had a lot of flooding, as everybody knows, and we found that we didn't have adequate room to get up on the banks of those channels and do proper maintenance. We had to remove some trees. And basically there were some subdivisions that were approved when Dan Jessen and our auditor were out working day and night cleaning that ditch that goes west by the College Farm. Some of those subdivisions have been built right next to the flood channel. All they have protecting their property is a block wall, and so we've adopted a new flood channel setbacks, and hopefully Cedar City will adopt that as well. and those are things that we're working on, and that would be part of our master plan. We had a couple of really reputable contractors, excavation contractors, approach us and talk about new road standards. They've noticed some of the subdivisions that have been built, some of the roads are not holding up properly. And they came in with some good ideas and said, hey, you could maybe not do as much over-X, but use a better gravel and more of a pit run type crushed material. And it was a great idea. We adopted that, and that's now part of our general plan.
Affordable housing.
Yep, and I've got that on my list too. So I talked about Belt Routes, the affordable housing, like Marilyn said. We just adopted an R4K ordinance where a developer can go in and between 5 and 20 acres, they can go in and develop smaller lots and smaller homes. Our kids and others can't go from 0 to 500,000 now to buy a house. They've got to have an in-between where they can jump to maybe a smaller lot, a smaller house, build some equity, and then maybe later try to upgrade to a home that's bigger as their families grow. We've adopted an accessory dwelling unit ordinance to allow for accessory dwelling units up to 800 square feet. We're working on the Coal Creek, Paraguna, Parowan flood plans, where we've got that in the works right now. Mike Worthen's got an extensive county resource management plan, and it encompasses about 5 different items. I won't bring those up. There's utility corridors we're working on. There's transportation plans. We meet every quarter in our Iron County Coordinating Council meeting with the other mayors and other elected officials and UDOT, and we talk about priorities with, like, the South Interchange, which is in desperate need of upgrading. We talk about different road issues and priorities, and we set those. And so I just wanted to bring up that I really would propose that we remove the date on our general plan because it's misleading. This is a living, breathing document that changes all the time based on market forces and different needs we've run into. So we're always updating that. And anyway, that's really, I think that's all I had. Sorry it takes so much time.
Nope, that's good. Mike, go ahead.
Just a couple of things. Really quick, Dan Jessen and I participated in a program called the Iron Leaders Academy that was set up through Southern Utah University. It was designed to be a one-year program, basically to build relationships and leaderships between different entities in between county and local government and a lot of local leaders. COVID came, and it turned into a 2-year program. So but we were just able to graduate that program. It was the first Iron Leaders Academy that was put on. It was put on through SU. It was a good thing. Stephen Lisenby from SU in the governor's office spearheaded that, and it turned out to be a good thing. Last week, we spent 2 days with a refamiliarization tour with economic development. So what that means is we invited in representatives from the Governor's Office of Economic Development, World Trade Center Utah, EDC Utah, and I can't remember what all their acronyms stand for, but basically they're
Inland
the
Port. Too.
Well, Inland Port presented, but they weren't part of the tour.
Okay.
5 County Association of Government was there. Anyway, these are the people who have the ability to recruit for us, and they're kind of feeder companies that know what our needs are and can send proper industry and business our way. So we felt that it was important to refamiliarize them with Cedar City after COVID and everything that's gone on the last couple of years. So we spent a couple of days. We toured manufacturing plants. We toured Port 15. We met with the Water Conservancy District. We met with tourism. We met with Southern Utah University. Met with Southwest Tech. We visited several local restaurants. We did a whole bunch of stuff, and it was awesome to have some of these players here. and say, man, we kind of forgot what Cedar City has to offer.
EZI too, right?
Yeah, we met with BZI. That was part of it. So it was really good to update these folks who really do have an impact on helping us recruit the proper kind of industry to our area. So that was cool. We've been working a lot with our new fair director, Susan Duncan Blackner, to try and facilitate that switch, get her involved. Attended the Children's Justice Center Fun Run. This is the 17th year of that fun run. There's been very few years that I haven't had a team in there, even though I hate to run. It's fine. I love to support the CJC. We're moving forward on some potential land acquisitions for a new center. We're kind of up and down as far as we get leads and then they disappear. We have a new lead that looks promising. I'm not going to jinx it, but
Okay.
and I don't know all the details. That's something that Jennifer Davis, who's our she's the chairman of the
President
Friends.
of the board.
the
Friends
president
of
of the
Friends
Friends Board, the Friends Board, who's the fundraising arm of the CJC and a 501c3. She and Stephanie are working together. Danny Stewart and I and Stephen Lisenby have met several times to talk about different funding streams to possibly help upgrade the infrastructure leading into BZI's proposed industrial park out off of Iron Springs Road. There's a need for some sewer upgrades there as well as some possible road upgrades. So we're working through possible funding streams, different programs there.
I'll just jump in there real quick. Chris Stewart's office also is in appropriations, and I talked to them last year. But this coming year, if we can get some things in place so that it's a shovel-ready
Yeah.
program, there may be some monies there too for that road.
Yes. There's some other things, but that is the bulk of it.
Okay, very good. I'll hurry real quick with the rest of mine. They covered a lot of the other. Maria from Tourism, Twitchell, and I went down earlier this year. We meet with the BLM and Forest Service twice a year as a commission and go over any issues that we're having. They brought up the Spring Creek down. They have the Canara Falls that they have so many tourists come in, but they've got that under control, and that's been really good. Well, that's pushed a lot of them down to Spring Creek, and that is actually on BLM ground. And so they suggested that we needed a toilet down there. And so we've been working on that. We went to Canaraville City Council meeting the other night. Working together with them, with tourism dollars, we put in half of the money. Canaraville put half the money in, and the BLM is working to, they will clean and maintain the bathroom, which is really kind of neat when you think about it, that we can all, all these entities can work together on that type of a thing. Like the other commissioner said, we been working really great on the fairgrounds. We're all excited about it. I think as we speak, we may be getting curb and gutter. I'm hoping. I was a little disappointed when we went over all of the mow strip there. I wanted to put trees, some small trees. Well, I look up and the power lines are above it, which we may have been able to do that, but there's a great big water line underneath. So we'll probably just have to do gravel and maybe rocks and some decorations that way. I'm working on a fence. We talked about a wooden fence out front there, but then this is Iron County, so we thought, maybe iron would be the way to go. So we're working on that. I think I've got most of that donated, those materials, and now I've just got to recruit welders to get that put all together. And Justin and Bruce from the road department has been working so tirelessly, and they are so far behind because of the floods last year that we didn't get our patching and things done. So, and they've just been really good, and they've just worked so hard, and their crews. And then also last Saturday was the kickoff to the fair, which was the Miss Rodeo pageant. It was very nice. The girls were beautiful. They did a great job. Katie Danley is who puts that on, and Debbie Grimm from the fair helped do that. Helped with that also. And I just want to tell those girls congratulations for all their hard work, and it was very nice. Okay, we are right a little after 10. Let's take like a 5-minute break, and we'll come back for our 10 o'clock meeting. We've got a long meeting today, so. Whew.
3 minutes. Do you know where I click?
Wow.
Should we get ready?
Sorry, let me.
I can figure it out from here.
Yeah, it's in there.
Excellent.
Okay, Commissioner, go ahead.
Okay. Welcome everybody back to the meeting, 10 o'clock meeting, Monday, 23rd day of May 2022. And we will start out with number 1 on the agenda, public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of proposed zone change from residential 1 acre to commercial for approximately 37.98 acres.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll try to run through these as quickly as I can with just a brief introduction. I think you're very familiar with the review process and the approval, so I just want to orient you to what these projects are. This project is just south of Hamilton Fort. You can see by the site plan just right off of I-15, between I-15 and Old Highway 91. And it's Hamilton Fort is just right here, the old Hamilton Fort Town Fort site. The Old Highway 91 runs up this side of the property, and I-15 is on this side of the property. The property is currently zoned R1. It was done that way just in the 80s. A lot of these old zoning things were done around where there was already a cluster of 1 acre stuff, and so they just kind of said, this is our growth area for that. And we did it for all of the towns, and that's just kind of how it's been for a long time. But the Cedar City amended their general plan map to show this be commercial. They don't have their line quite on where the property line is, but this is the same property. And so they've got that showing that that would make sense in their future land use to be commercial. It has good access. Street map shows good access. This is Westview Drive. This is Old Highway 91. And you can see that the future for this property right here, this is where the Cedar City new master plan just adopted for the Westview Drive at 100-foot right-of-way to come right in with a new interchange. So it would go right through this property. That's a lot of the information background on it. I think most of you are aware and familiar with this property and where it's located and what the intended use is there, and they think that it's not as usable as residential property as it would be as commercial property given its location and proximity to I-15, between I-15 and Old Highway 91. So Planning Commission recommended approval.
Okay. So we'll open the public hearing. Chair declares the public hearing open. If anybody would like to speak to this one. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and have Reed come back up.
There were some residents from the Rainbow Rancho subdivision down here in this area that were concerned, and were at the Planning Commission, expressed their concern when they heard some of the discussion with Planning Commission and what the applicants were intending and recognizing the future of that. They were just concerned about the increased traffic to that area and what it might do and what it might draw, but recognizing that it's kind of the area in the future there. So I think we're going to see more commercial along there. And they were concerned about opening the door to that. Since last month, we also have now 2 more applications for property along Old Highway 91 right there to zone to commercial. And I think we're going to see more of a commercial corridor along there. This is the criteria that we evaluate and use for zone changes that you're familiar with. I won't spend time going through that. So Planning Commission recommended approval, and has all of the feasibility for being able to provide water. There's no sewer in the area. They would have to do that, but through septic or run a sewer line. But they're aware of that, and that's their opportunity. So I think that it makes a lot of sense to go commercial in that area.
Okay.
I did have a question.
Okay.
On the, when you said interchange, does that mean the intersection between Highway 91 and Westview, or are they planning on something more there?
There would be future interchange They moved. They had one planned for a little further north, where the flyover or where the old Highway 91 crosses over there
Yeah.
by the new Zip Kit home,
A bit further
Middleton
north
property
there.
to the
East.
north and east. But in this last master plan revision, they said, it would make more sense to put it where the extension of Westview Drive would come right into I-15, and that would be a future interchange.
Well, that's more of a corridor. Was that kind of the logic? That's piqued my attention there.
Yeah, that's proposed by UDOT, right?
It's proposed by Cedar City in their master development plan. UDOT thought that was a good location, but they recognize that. But interchanges are difficult to come by, and it takes
They
a
are.
long time for that to get in.
They're so very
process, and
expensive.
they're very expensive. And so I think it could be 10, 20, 30 years away, but the idea is that when we have them on the master plan and we recognize that everyone knows that that's going to happen as people develop property, they know that we're going to preserve a 100-foot corridor on down from Westview Drive through this property to the interchange. And then that'll take more design and development, but that's the master plan.
Okay.
And we're working on the county general master plan update as well. And after Cedar City and Enoch, we participated and were part of the study that they just went through and adopted. We now have that on the Planning Commission agenda for last month, and then this next month we'll review that and we will come back with a recommendation to adopt some of these areas that extend outside of the cities into the county area to coordinate with the city and line roads up and have common widths and things like that. So we're working on that at the Planning Commission level right now.
Great. Can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the zone change from residential 1 acre R1 to commercial C for approximately 37.9 acres within section 1, township 36 south, range 11 west, Salt Lake Basin, Meridian, Iron County, and then the rest of it based on what's listed in the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we'll go on to the number 2. Public hearing, discussion and approval, proposed zone change from agriculture 20 acre to residential.
I'm going to speak of at this agenda item also with items number 3 and 4 on the agenda. It's all the same property. And part of what we're doing here is the rezoning the property, vacating this lot out of the old subdivision, and then replatting it into 7 additional lots. So those are those 3 items separately, but it's all the same property. So when I explain it and orient you to where we are, that's for these next 3 items, and I won't have to do that for items number 3 and 4 unless there are specific questions to that. Each one will have to have a separate public hearing because they're separate items, but the information I can just share, I think, will cover all of it. This is on the northeast corner of the intersection of Lund Highway and Mid Valley Road. So we did a subdivision on this side of the property, of this corner right here, about a year ago, and rezoned this to R2. And now their interest is to rezone this to R2. This is the subject property. This is the belt route alignment right here. Here's Lund Highway, Mid Valley Road. When we did this subdivision, this lot was one of the lots in the subdivision. So there were 7 lots plus this, and this was lot 8. That's the way they opted to do it at the time. We should have just it would have been simpler to leave it as a remainder parcel and not had it part of the subdivision. But the difference is that we wanted to, as part of the subdivision, dedicate the road width. So we got the road width in that previous subdivision to have 75 feet on this side and 100 feet on this side. So that Mid Valley Road is a master planned 100-foot road, and Lund is 100 to Mid Valley. Then it turns to 75 going up because we didn't feel like with the belt route there we needed 200-foot corridors next to each other. So we've got the dedication when this was part of the Garth and Carrie Jensen minor subdivision 1. We got the road dedication for the additional width, but that's why we're doing. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118 Go the right way. Here's just another view of what the property is and where it's located, Mid-Valley and Lund Highway right here. Here are just some of the street maps you can see as I explaining. This is the 100-foot, the red is a 100-foot master plan that's already there, and this is what was proposed to be built. So with the belt route there, this property has good access and good transportation corridors. Some of the concern with, let me skip down just a little bit to the plat itself and show why we're talking about it. This is the vacated plat that shows that this lot 8 will be vacated out of this original subdivision. The way that the plat is proposed to create, once it's vacated out of the other subdivision, is to re-subdivide it as to the Jensen Minor Subdivision Phase 2 and create these 7 5-acre lots along here. It was originally proposed that these lots would take access off of Lund Highway with a shared common driveway between the two lots. Since that time, the applicant has asked that it be considered to be taking their access off of here and not have access off of Lund Highway, just because of the busyness of Lund Highway and reducing accesses off of there. But there's also a big tree line that runs along there that they would like to leave as a buffer in order to do the road improvements and do the encroachments. They felt that that would create more of a problem for them, and so they would like to have that considered to take their access. It's a public street on both sides, so they could really have access off of both sides, but they would like to have it approved with access off of this side instead of off of.
Reed, do you know the street name on the east side? I can almost read it.
Yeah, 2950 West.
2950.
Yeah.
What about water, Reed?
Water, it will come off of the Lund Highway. They brought water into this subdivision and the Water Conservancy District water, and so they'll come up this side with the water.
So they'll have the appropriate
Yeah.
priority date
Yeah.
for that.
They've already got that worked out with Water Conservancy, and we have a letter from Water Conservancy that they will serve those 7 lots. They're looking at rezoning to R2.
I was going to ask you about that.
It's the same thing we did when we rezoned this property. This was zoned R2, and these are 5-acre lots. Also, because of the width requirement for an R2 lot is 200 feet, and they didn't have that much width, and so we were willing to rezone that to R2 at the time, because when we took the highway up this side, that took out their ability to divide those into 8 lots and have frontage off of this road. And so we conceded to do R2 since it's adjacent to R2, and to just have a little narrower frontage that the frontage was 185 feet. The R5 lots, the frontage is 300 feet. So since in between the time that this subdivision was done and now we're doing this one, we've changed the width to R2 from 185 to 200 feet. And so now they have to have 200 feet of frontage. But R5, which they could have zoned R5 because they're adjacent to this, and plus they have more than 40 acres, but it required a 300-foot frontage.
So sewer is also
So the reason
too,
that
right?
the reason that they're 5-acre lots is because there's a sewer minimum for 5 acres if they're not hooked onto central sewer, and they're far enough in the distance from available sewer that they're not required to run the sewer there if they do 5-acre lots. And so having 7 lots times 150 feet still puts them outside of the required connection to available sewer. So that's why they opted for 5-acre lots, but wanted R2, because then they only have to have 200 feet of frontage instead of 300 feet of frontage, which they would have to have for R5. So it still limits them to 5 acres, but they could have 7 lots there by having 200 feet of frontage in R2. And we were okay with that, given the fact that they were doing a common shared driveway part of the challenge in R5 on a busy road is, we don't want any more in R2. The roads are narrower, or lots are narrower. There are more entrances closer. We wanted to spread those out, but now they're taking their access off of the road to the east, and that's not a problem. So that's the project. We've for the zone change, they have water. Everything is there. So.
Okay. All right. Chair declares the public hearing open. If anybody has for the zone change. Exactly.
I'll tuck it. I'm not here to support or oppose the zone change here. What I'm here for is for your consideration in changing these zones and the development that's happening in that area. As just recently discussed, the water and the sewer. I'm in Mid-Valley Estates. Mid-Valley Estates, we have currently right now 253 residents in there, residential places in there. According to Rural Water, that little plot right there has the highest concentration of septic tanks per square mile than anywhere in the state of Utah. And we're not in the lowest point in the valley, but we're down in the bottom somewhere. So my concern is with these developments that are coming on, that sewer should be a major issue in here. And I know here's recent years ago, ENIC got a grant that they took Garden Park area and got them all converted over to their sewer system with a minimal pay per resident. Each resident there was converted had a portion of that grant to pay back, probably similar to when they put the streets in Mid-Valley Estates. We had an obligation to pay for a portion of that cost of putting those streets in. So what I would like you to consider as you approve these, I keep making a joke as the developments are coming that way, that the rumor got out that we were going to build Costco out there, and so that's why they've got all these subdivisions. But there are a lot of new subdivisions out there. Some of them, of course, are going to be able to hook into the main sewer line going out to the treatment plant, but those of us farther to the west aren't capable of doing that. The elevations aren't
Unless
good for it,
we put a lift station.
Unless we put a lift in it. When here a few years ago, when it was brought up again, I can't tell you how many years, but it's been a few. They estimated it'd take 4 pumps to lift it out of that subdivision or to 2300 West to hook into the main sewer trunk on it. I don't know all the particulars of what has to be done, but I believe that the county has the ability to apply for these grants. We're not a government entity there, so we can't, but the county has the opportunities to, I don't know what goes through EPA or whoever can help us apply for grants and put these subdivisions that Reed's talking about and ours, the Mid-Valley Estate one, on a septic system.
Or on a sewer system.
On a sewer system.
Do you have any information about that, Reed?
That'd be an assessment area, right?
Have to be an assessment area. But as far as a grant to help with that, is there anything out there?
Well, CIB does help sometimes with that. Require an application to CIB.
Yeah, come up
So
real quick.
There was, most of you are familiar with Monte Vista subdivision. They just went through a process with the USDA Rural Development and got a grant to help put their subdivision on sewer. They're 1 acre lots, and they found it more advantageous for them to act because even though they're not a governmental body, that they have an association, and they were able to, similar to what your water group would do, could apply yourself directly to USDA. Dennis Cox is the contact there, and he might be worth visiting with. But they found it more advantageous for them to go directly to USDA Rural Development to get funding than go through the avenues that we had through an assessment area and going to the funding sources through the state, because this was federal money that they had access to that the county didn't have access to. So there are different avenues to do that in different ways.
That might be something to look at, Bob.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's what I was mainly concerned with, is because
Yeah.
we're so close, not that we're at the bottom, but we're so close to the aquifer
Yeah.
that if one of these systems fail us, we're going to contaminate the aquifer,
Yeah.
and we are in bad
Which
shape.
is good, though. At least these are 5-acre.
Right,
and
that
that helps.
initially when
So-
when I heard about it, my concern was, oh, here's a whole nother
Other-
100
yeah.
unit,
Yeah.
subdivision. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's going to be a minimal addition to it. But I say we've got 253. They've already started on houses on the opposite side of Lund in the same general area, and they seem to be moving that way. And so it's something we need to me anyway, we need to feel looking really hard at that one utility
Yeah.
of being, upgraded to a sewer system instead of the septic tank.
Reed, can a sewer line be installed down Lund Highway and then cut across to the sewer plant and make grade, or would it have to be a lift station to cover that area?
Well, it was evaluated previously. Let me go back to a map that kind of shows the area a little broader. If there was an option, and we looked at years ago, taking the Mid-Valley Estates subdivision and trying to come out of it here and stair step back to get to the sewer line. If you come down here straight, the sewer treatment plant is right out in here off of right off of 2300 as 2300 works back. Then this 4500 west line kind of stair steps back as it goes out to the treatment plant. And there was a possibility that if this was all collected into a line somewhere in this vicinity, that they might be able to run it out this way and hit that line before it got to the sewer treatment plant.
But
that would
grade, so
require
you'd have a
more
lift station.
engineering than what's been done to determine if that's really possible or not.
that from-
I think Bob,
I think it'd be good to explore that.
From Mid-Valley Road to the bottom of the subdivision, which is 5400 north, there's only 11 feet fall of natural grade.
Wow.
And so there's not enough natural grade for it to fall. But since this was all done, that we're involved in, they put that main trunk back out through there, which I agree with you. We could go farther to the west and
And then
maybe
come
get
over.
away with the gravity feed rather than have to put pump stations in.
might be able to go far enough north that it can hit that
Okay.
line before it gets.
Well, I'm familiar with USDA because that's how we got our water system upgraded
Oh, great.
where we're at
Great.
with USDA. Matter of fact, we just barely paid that loan off, so.
Well, you're just right in line to do
yeah.
this another
That's
one.
the avenue, and that's what,
Seems to be the best one.
'cause
Yeah.
we're not gonna stop the development out there. It's coming,
Yeah.
more and more.
Yep,
When I moved
yep.
out there 26 years ago,
It was
I
nothing.
only knew the sagebrush personally, but now I know too many people. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll close that public hearing.
Again, the same zoning criteria that we evaluated before in terms of feasibility. You see how all of the infrastructure, drainage, and everything is being provided. And it's important at this point, even though this is just the zone change, that there is the minor subdivision also. Let's see, I think I may have gone too far. Okay. So for the zone change. Actually, I think that one's for the minor subdivision, but we are just looking at the zone change.
What would be the process? Would we try to work with residents on an assessment area, see if they were favorable to that?
If
And
they go
then
USDA, then they don't need an assessment area.
it's just a grant?
Yeah, well, it's a grant and loan, but they work it directly through the USDA.
They cover
And-
it.
yeah.
Like their
They
homeowners
make payments to
association?
them, not
That's correct.
Not
We're
it's
not
not attached to their
involved at all.
property taxes.
And they found that to be more advantageous because it doesn't have the lien on their property for the taxes like it does. They have it
as
as
an
an
assessment area.
association, but they are obligated directly to the USDA.
And who works with USDA? Who initiates that?
The homeowners.
They get together and
Mhm. That's why I mentioned Dennis Cox did for the Monte Vista subdivision. Their homeowners association, I think he was the president of their homeowners association, and he went to them, just like Bob was saying what they did with their
With
water
their
system.
water, yeah.
They went directly to them, and they work with these kinds of rural areas quite well.
But Dennis they haven't pulled the trigger yet, right? Because they had a lot of residents with new septic systems they just put
Right.
in. And it's
We
really
amended
tough.
the ordinance to give them 10 years instead of
that's right,
5.
that's
You'll recall that, and then they're still working through that process. It doesn't happen overnight, but they have the approval, and now they're just going through the due diligence to get it finished.
Okay. Chair calls for a motion on the zone change.
I'd move for approval of a zone change from agriculture 20 acre to residential 2 acre for approximately 36.58 acres located at the northeast corner of Lund Highway and Mid Valley Road. The legal description is included in the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Now,
This item does not need a public hearing.
okay.
This item
I
is a
saw that.
vacate and amend for the subdivision to vacate Lot 8 out of the Garth and Carrie Jensen minor subdivision Phase 1. And so this, let's see, can we go back here to this? I jumped way ahead. So we're vacating Lot 8. We needed to do that before we could subdivide it and approve a subdivision on Lot 8 when it was still in the subdivision. So that's why we moved this agenda item to right in front of the approval for the subdivision. In the ordinance, I just highlighted in the red here out of our ordinance where we deal with vacating lots and vacating and amending plats. If the county commission is satisfied that neither the public nor any person will be materially injured by the proposed vacation, alteration, or amendment, that there's good cause for the vacation, alteration, amendment, then the subdivision can be approved, or the vacation or the amendment can be approved. And so that's what we're doing here. We don't, the Planning Commission does not hear this or consider this. This is done by our ordinance and state law that provides for the amendment of plats by just the county commission. And it does not require a public hearing if all of the owners of the property have petitioned for the change. And so since this is a single owner, the Jensen, Garth and Carrie Jensen, we don't need to hold a public hearing, but we are required and have provided notice to adjacent property owners on all sides of the subdivision. So those letters went out and they've been given notice for that.
All right.
So that then just requires the action of the
Motion. So,
if you believe that it's not harmful or cause anybody a problem. We haven't heard that it has and can't see that it would.
okay. Offer a motion on this one.
I'll move to approve the proposed amended plat, partial vacated and amended minor subdivision for Garth and Carrie Jensen within the description indicated in the agenda, which is located at the northeast corner of Lund Highway and Mid Valley Road, Cedar City.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now we'll go to number 4.
This item is for the approval of and consideration with a public hearing required for the platting of the 7 lots that we just vacated out of the other subdivision. These are, again, 5-acre lots on in R2, so they would meet the minimum 200-foot frontage on the street and the width, and would be on septic, but with water for fire flow and culinary from the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District. And we have the dedications both on Lund and Mid Valley to get our road width as the master plan roads, so it's in compliance with the ordinance. And so, as you're aware, this is an administrative land use function. When it complies with the ordinance, then we can approve them.
Okay, the chair declares the public hearing open on agenda number 4. Seeing no comments, we we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you. The minor subdivision approval process, as we've discussed previous meetings, it talks about these major components, which are the things that the Planning Commission has reviewed, staff has reviewed, found them to be in compliance. These are the required improvements in an R2 zoning, and that meets all of those. There was no request for variations because it conforms in all aspects. Well, with the exception of street lighting. We do need to do a variation for street lighting. I just remembered that because there is no street lighting required, or it does require street lighting in R2, but we're not proposing street lighting and they don't want to do street lighting. So we do that subject to a variation for street lighting. It's my error to not put that on there.
Chair calls for a motion.
Can I just ask a question? I'm a little confused just from my days in the recorder's office. The names of the subdivisions? So you've got, can you just speak to that?
Yes. The subdivision title is the Garth and Carrie Jensen Minor Subdivision. The way they had it on the one, it just says Minor Subdivision for Garth and Carrie Jones, right?
Jensen.
But the subdivision name is the Garth and Carrie Jones Subdivision Phase 2. So this will be Phase 2. The other one was just the Garth and Carrie Jensen Minor Subdivision. This is Phase 2.
So the Phase 1 will be vacated and amended, not having Lot 8, is that correct? Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't have two subdivisions of the same name, but it's Phase 1.
No,
and
this
Phase
is Phase 2.
2. Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Chair calls for a motion on number 4.
And I would move for approval of a proposed minor subdivision, Garth and Carrie Jensen minor subdivision, which is 7 lots. The legal description is provided, and it's located at the northeast corner of Lund Highway and Mid Valley Road. Note that there is a variation not to require street lighting in the subdivision.
And that it's Phase 2.
And that it's Phase 2.
Because that was not on the agenda. Thank you, John.
Second.
Yep. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let's go to number 5. Public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of proposed minor subdivision, Daniel Jensen minor subdivision, 3 lots. Looks like that's over on Antelope Springs Road.
Yes. This is a subdivision of, it's kind of an amending. They were 20-acre parcels, but it was never a subdivision. It was just agricultural splits. And so they're still meets and bounds parcels. But otherwise, if it would have been in a subdivision, it would have been vacating and amending. You can see it's just out on Antelope Springs Road. See, there were a number of 20-acre parcels and a 40-acre parcel. Mr. Jensen, Daniel Jensen, bought this 40-acre piece and a 20-acre piece, and it has the Antelope Springs Road running right through the corner of it. And so what he's doing is he's taking the 40 and the 20-acre lot and creating 3 20-acre lots in a different configuration. And so since they were meets and bounds agricultural splits that were not eligible for a building permit without going through the subdivision because they were never created under the subdivision process, none of these other lots. We've had a challenge with a number of the lots out here wanting building permits and not being able to get them because they don't have any access. They don't have any frontage on a county road and legal access back to their lots. And so all there was just kind of a 2-track that ran back through there. So Mr. Jensen has agreed as part of this subdivision to allow 33 foot on his side of the property back this far as a right-of-way to allow access to these other lots going back further. So he understands the situation out there, has been really good to work with. You can see that the property is the parcel. He had this 20-acre parcel and he started to fence, and he has a well there and he has what it needs to provide for the subdivision. Has good street access. This is a county maintained road, Antelope Springs Road, 66 foot right away. It's all been accepted by the county. So they have the 66 foot road outlined here, and this is the configuration. So there would be one parcel. Well, this is parcel 1, Parcel 2, and Parcel 3, all having 300 foot of frontage on the county road, and that's the configuration that they want in creating the 3 lots. So it conforms with the subdivision. They have a well there that can provide water and has been tested and shown to be able to provide water quality and quantity for the subdivision. And their fire flow, of course, will be supplied by compliance with the WUI code in terms of the type of road access that they have, and then building material type, vegetation management, and those kinds of things that we do in rural subdivisions. So everything else, I think, seemed good. They had the soils work and ready to go, and I think everything else is good. Again, no variations on this. Street lighting is not a requirement in the A20 zone, but it does require public.
Okay. Chair declares the public hearing open on agenda number 5. Anyone want to speak to that? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
This is a review criteria again for compliance with the ordinance. If it complies with the ordinance, the Planning Commission recommended approval. These are the requirements in the A20 zone, and it provides for all of those. So Planning Commission recommended approval.
Okay. Guess we can ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve the proposed minor subdivision, Daniel Jensen minor subdivision, 3 lots, approximately 60.6 acres, within the description itemized in the agenda, which is located approximately 12,500 West Antelope Springs Road, Cedar City, Utah.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, then we'll move on to number 6. Reed?
This is a minor subdivision, again off of 6100 West and 4000 North, just north of 4000 North. This is going the wrong direction. What happened here? Sorry about that. Down on the south end of the valley, Cedar Valley, off of this is Vandenberg Road, or 4000 North and 6100 West, is this project subdivision had an interesting twist in that we assumed that was a county. It wasn't a county standard road, but the right-of-way was a dedicated road. And so we started through the process and then learned that when the title report came, that road had never been dedicated, that it was part of the old Hamilton Fort Ranches Homeowners Association. They had ownership to that, all of the roads out in that area, and that they had never been dedicated to the county. So even though the lots are platted to not to the center of the road, but to the side, there is a 66 foot, well, in this case it's 80 feet. There's a roadway there that the lots come to on each side. And so as we were already had an application for a minor subdivision, and they were starting to work on the road and get the soil test for the road to make the road improvement to bring it up to county standards so we could do the subdivision, is when we learned that it had never been dedicated. And so and working with staff and through the Planning Commission, the recommendation is for approval because we had started down the process and we're fairly sure that the road could nobody owns it. And the funny thing about, well, I don't know how funny it is, but the reality of this situation is that the homeowners association that owned the road had gone defunct and went away back in 1988. Is that right? 88 was the last, they dissolved the homeowners association. So then really no one owned the roads. And we looked for heirs, we talked to family, it was never passed on. The association or the owners of the association and the developers never passed that on. And so what we're doing is proposing for the Planning Commission to approve the subdivision contingent upon the road being, the dedication of the road being completed through quiet title. Judy Jensen is here as the applicant, and they have started the process to quiet title that section of 6100 from 4000 north up to to the end of the property right here, which would include these property owners. They've contacted them and getting consent for them to agree that that road be given title to Judy, who then can dedicate that as a public right-of-way, and that will solve the requirement of having a subdivision off of a county-approved road. Then the subdivider would improve the road and bring it up to county standards so that then the county could accept and maintain the road.
How big of a problem are those Hamilton Fort Ranches undedicated roads? Is that something the county should
Pursue.
If the
Pursue
county wanted to
or
do
go in
a
with
quiet
Lyman?
title or do something to try to fix all of that in that whole area, that's something that we could pursue.
Is there like a bunch of it?
Yeah, there's the extension. There's 3,200 all the way across from Rainbow Ranches right here. We solved 5,700 when we did the 5,700 belt route, but there's 3,600. There's 3,200 all the way across. This is I can't remember what west that is, and these are all part of that. Out here, it goes clear out through here. So there's a lot of them beyond the scope of just this. And so some of these other owners we've met with and talked with them about their interest. They would love to have it done, have 3,200 and 3,600 also included in the quiet title, the rest of 6,100. But that really isn't the responsibility of the developer in order to try to do what their frontage is. So that would then come back if the county felt it was necessary. In talking with the county engineer and I guess I can speak for him since they're not
County
here.
attorney.
And we all decided that given the nature of what those roads are currently, if anyone else were to try to subdivide or do anything else out there, they would have to have a dedicated road and they would have to be done. But it's a lot of work for what we're not gaining a whole lot because we're not maintaining them currently. We're not proposing to have them brought up to county standard and maintain them at this point, and that would be a requirement when that was done.
That bit on the west is a
We
really
just
rough two-track
have
road.
plenty of
too.
other things to do right now than to take that on, and that's a
In other
fairly
words,
large
it's
ordeal.
really only worth it for us to be involved piecemeal when stuff comes up.
I think at this point, unless we're just twiddling our thumbs and have nothing else to do and plenty of money
All
to
the time,
pay somebody
huh?
to go through that process, it's just not. We didn't feel it was necessary at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so that's kind of the subdivision. You can see the property is zoned RA20, and it's a 200-acre parcel. This is what we're looking at with 4,000 North being dedicated and maintained by the county as a chip seal road. This application came in prior to us amending the requirement that if a gravel required road in a subdivision comes off of a paved or chip sealed road, that it would have to be chip sealed. And so we're not requiring that in this case because they had a complete application prior to that requirement. We'd love if they would do that because it would simplify things, but we can't require it at this point. And so this is the property that the 60 acres that would be subdivided. It's part of a 200-acre parcel, so we're doing the remainder parcel this time instead of having it be lot 4 and then have to vacate it in the future. So it's a remainder parcel. This is what the subdivision plat looks like. We've got those 3 lots. Here's where 3,200 comes across right here, and the dedication, of course, would come up to 3,200 because that's the end of where this subdivision is. I think they can clear it on this side, but then it would just be this one to finish it up on their property, but this is a remainder parcel, so this is what the subdivision requires, is up to 3,200 for the dedication. So the recommendation, again, we have, they have a well. This little parcel down here in the corner has a well on it. Their interest is to drill their own well in the future, but there is well sufficient right now that they can run a line and serve these three lots. If at the point that they determine to drill their own well for those 3 lots, then they can certainly use that. But we meet the requirement of the ordinance by having this well tested and showing that they can connect those 3 lots to that well. So that satisfies the requirement, and you can see here that they've got showing how the water line can be put in and what they would do to provide water to those lots. So the recommendation from the Planning Commission is that it is in compliance with the ordinance, with the exception of the road dedication that we discovered through the process. So the Planning Commission recommended that we go ahead and approve this contingent upon not issuing a CO for any lot or any building on those 3 lots until the road is dedicated and improved.
Okay.
So,
All right.
public hearing.
Claire declares the public hearing open on agenda number 6. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Turn it back to Reed.
This, again, the ordinance requirements that we've evaluated and find that it is in compliance with the ordinance. Recommend approval. All of the improvements will be put in. The road will be improved and brought up to county standard. There are no variations on this, and so we do have the one stipulation that no CO would be issued until the road dedication improvements are complete.
Okay. Ask for a motion.
I'd move for approval of a proposed minor subdivision, Paradise Fields minor subdivision, 3 lots, approximately 200.26 acres. The legal description is noted within the agenda and located at approximately 3800 South, 6100 West, Cedar City, Utah. And just note that there's a stipulation that no CO will be issued until the road dedications and improvements are complete.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. I think since we have these folks here from IHC, we will move to 11, Cedar City Hospital annual reporting.
Hey, can I make a note really quick?
Okay.
Item number 12 from the Utah Shakespeare Festival.
Uh-huh.
They've asked if they can bump that.
Oh.
So they won't be here today.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Do you want to just bump that to the next
John,
one?
can you bump
Okay.
that to they request if they could come back on June 13th.
Okay. Very
We
good.
could move their agenda item to June 13th in case I forget later.
Okay.
Sure.
We're not judges.
not
you
that
don't,
kind of
you
a
don't have to have permission. You can just come and go freely if you'd like.
All right, I'm Eric Packer. I'm administrator for Cedar City Hospital. And we know you have a very full agenda today, so we'll be very brief. And we've provided you the little booklet with some information about the hospital. And also a PowerPoint was sent just for your review if you want to review some of the details. So very briefly, in regards to just a couple things happening. No.
Okay.
We won't be that long.
Okay.
We've just completed a couple construction projects in our facility there, working on the med-surg unit and enhancing our pharmacy space. And we're in the process right now of remodeling the nursery. Charity Care this past year was well over $5 million, almost $5.1 million. And that amounted to individual cases totaling 7,293. And I just want you to know we're very vigilant in trying to watch and manage our tax exemption standards and ensuring that we're compliant with all of those. And we'll just let you look through the information. Do you have any questions for me or anything you would like to ask?
No.
We saw we were emailed the video. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I will.
Just a PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's what I
Yep.
meant. So.
Yep.
Yeah,
We will.
it just goes into more detail.
Detail.
But
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
We
for
really
coming.
appreciate you in the community. It's always awesome to work with, and thank you.
we've got a great team. So, and thank you. I just want to thank you guys for all your support and how you do for us too. So we
Okay.
appreciate it.
Sorry you had to sit through all of that boring stuff that we have to do.
to be clear, we're sorry. We have to sit through that.
It helps
Sorry,
us
Reed.
appreciate our job.
She just called Reed boring, I think.
Hey, you guys are a breath of sunshine. We're looking, a lot of times you look and it's the Reed show on the agenda. And it's frankly painful.
We appreciate reading the planning.
We do.
We love
Right.
to read.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Righty, we will go back to our public comments. 3-minute time limit. Speakers for public comment participants should not repeat others' comments, only for items on the agenda, no items related to Commissioner's role of appeals board, and comments should be directed to the commission, not attacks on others' character. We got any? Come on up. Sure. Just state your name again.
What if I forget it? Bob Tugg again. I forgot to read my notes on here. There was one other item that I wanted to question on the approval of this Jensen subdivision. How are we going to do on flood control?
There is
I lived through
a flood.
pretty interesting flood procedure out there, and I can tell you that side of the
Along
area
Lund Highway is quite a
is
flood.
not good drainage. It
Not
when
adequate?
We had to drain those 2,700, 2,800, and 2,900 were straight through the subdivision drainage. 28 or 2,950 and 3,000, we couldn't get it to even flow down those canals, and the diversion came across the east side of Lund on Mid Valley Road. They cut through that, put a cement culvert in, and then I believe just below this one that they're seeking the approval on the east side, they cut back from the east back to the west
Yeah.
across Lund, and then went farther and then cut back
Across
to the east,
again.
across Lund again.
Yeah.
And so that east side or west side of that subdivision will have some very poor drainage there, and I was wondering how that was been addressed, or if it had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly, it has been addressed, and with the widening and getting the additional width of 75 feet on that side, we're able to channel that water down on the west side, on the east side of Lund Highway as it goes further north. When any subdivision is approved, we review in terms of historical flow for the property, and because they have 5-acre lots, they can absorb most on site from the building and driveways that we'll have. They'll have little impervious surface on a 5-acre lot, so there shouldn't be much added water coming off the site than what came off historically. But we should be able to improve the drainage situation along the east side
Well,
of
they
Lund
did
Highway.
by the counties what monies they use cleaning up them canals there. It goes down past the animal clinic, and then the one that goes down towards Stratton's.
Yeah.
Did that because this last flood it took out subdivision farther up the road. I forget his name now. Terrible on. Don't get old. You forget. Anyway, when that came down through that canal there, I paid real close attention on that
What
water
it
coming
did.
our way on it. So that work that had been done and widening and cleaning out those canals did take away that water that had flooded our subdivision here several years ago.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
One last comment on that is that Rich Wilson has been working. We're well aware of the area. I think maybe you're thinking, Bob, of the issue at the Peakview subdivision in Russ Reber,
Oh.
and them coming on that side and then going down. And there was some challenges. A lot of the mentality in the past was there's a lot of room out there and the subdivisions can just drain off and go out into these other areas. Well, these other areas are now all becoming
Getting
subdivisions.
built in,
And so
yep.
we are more conscious of establishing channels to be able to take those out of the area, and Rich is working on that as well.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Oh, we got another one.
Good morning. Cindy Bullock on behalf of Congressman Stewart. Just want to give you a little status update on what is going on in the Congressman's office. We are deep in appropriations season. They've received a number of requests, and they are busy going through those. As you probably know, last year we were able to appropriate $3 million for Cedar City for that project out by on the road, like mind blank.
56.
It is Coal Creek.
Coal Creek.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think I better go look at my note, but
not the overpass.
not the overpass.
That would
Oh my gosh, I've only had 15 conversations with.
Where that flooded, right?
Yes.
Into the
Yes.
into the apartment building.
Yes. I will double check.
That's where
I've
that
been
is.
talking with Paul Bittman on their budget, and I just mind blank. Sorry, but they're going through new appropriation requests for this next year. Also, the congressman and Senator Lee had a bill that they were ready to present for the problems that we're having with formula, but the speaker would not allow that to be heard and did her own bill, but they have at least got some formula that has been sent in. Just politics in DC are crazy. You can have the best bill, but if it doesn't come from the right person, they won't even allow it to be heard. So
On that, Cindy, my mother reminded us that we were all raised on canned milk. So they didn't have formula.
She actually put that on Facebook. How
was
cute was
funny.
that?
anyway, and then just Ukraine is still a big issue, and with the congressman on the Intelligence Committee, he spends a great deal of time in that. But he loves Southern Utah and spends as much time as he can here between DC and, trying to cover all the bases. But if you need anything, you all know how to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, any more public comment? We got another one.
Sorry, I only have 3 minutes, so I'll try and talk fast. I'm not looking for a response. This is just, hear me out. I'd like to bring up an issue.
Sorry, could you tell us your name?
Oh, sorry, Kimberly Roman.
Thank you.
I want to bring up an issue. There's not a solution yet in place, but the solution is obvious, and it can't wait any longer. Can't wait for the budgets to open. It can't wait for an election, or else the county will be in a critical situation. Please put yourself in my shoes. My husband goes to work for the sheriff's office for what should be a 12-hour shift, but more often than not lasts much longer. He should have multiple days off in the week, but due to short staffing and extra duties, those days often dwindle down to only one or sometimes none. The county is growing rapidly, and with this growth has become more dangerous for our deputies, not only due to the type and number of crimes, but also due to the lack of backup each deputy has while on shift. At night, with only 2 deputies on, if one is called out to patrol, the other deputy has the rest of the county, which is 3,301 square miles to patrol on their own. What if something were to happen to one of those deputies? Backup is 45 to 90 minutes away. The amount of SWAT call-outs and operations this year alone account to almost 1 a week, a record number for Iron County, where the average just a few years ago was in the single digits for just 1 year. Between SWAT trainings and call-outs and operations, training his K-9 and a regular department training, 16 to 18-hour days are just another responsibility for my husband and many deputies alike. Working on holidays, anniversaries, birthdays are all required with this job. 100 to 120 hours every 2 weeks is our new normal. My husband enjoys this job, so there's nothing else he would rather do, and I support him, but the county does not. It's come to the point where he cannot financially support us, and with the amount of hours he works, how is that possible? His wage. He has worked with the sheriff's office as a correctional officer since 2018, starting $18 an hour. He started on the road in 2020, and now he is on SWAT with a K-9. He only makes $22.40. A deputy hired today with no experience starts at $21.61. So with 4 years on K-9 and SWAT experience, the county is telling my husband and other deputies that the knowledge and expertise he has is worth less than $1. The deputies did recently receive a raise, and we are very grateful for that raise. But that $1 raise that they received was the largest one in the county's history, and was the first one in a long time. Due to his low wage, I also work full-time nights as a nurse, and almost every spouse at the sheriff's office also has a job. And with 2 small children, this is less than ideal for us. This has caused strain in our relationship, passing our kids back and forth, rarely getting good quality time as a family. We long to spend more time together, but in order to raise a family, we cannot afford to do anything else. During the course of our lives, most people will be exposed to extreme trauma 3 to 4 occasions, where police and EMS are exposed to 300 or 400 to 600. This work is hard work, physically, emotionally, mentally taxing on both the deputies and the families. The county wonders why they lost 26 deputies over this past year. Well, it's because no one wants to put their life on the line daily, exposing themselves to those traumas. Overworked, taken away from a family for a measly $21.61, when the Walmart here is advertising starting their employees at $19 an hour and McDonald's is advertising $17. The department is hemorrhaging money training people and putting them through the academy for them not to even make it through half of their FTO process, because it's not until then do they realize that they are not valued by the county. Perhaps the county wouldn't be losing deputies and money if they had fair wages. You say the county is the wealthiest it has ever been, but you leave your employees the poorest they have ever been. They are good deputies, good men and women, fathers and mothers, husbands and wives. These are people I would want responding to my family if I were in an emergency. I don't think you would send your spouse to work for $22 an hour not knowing if they're going to come home. So please don't ask me to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to say that we very much appreciate our deputies, and we are going to be in talks for those very issues coming up actually today. So, Cindy, you want to come back up?
It's Industrial Road, so
Oh,
not
it's fine.
that way you
Oh,
can fix
okay.
the minutes, so sound like I know what I'm talking about.
You're good. Okay, I guess we'll go to Agenda 8, discussion and possible approval of proposed amended plat, partial amended subdivision plat for Lot 60 and 61, Chuck Shawnee Cliffs, Phase 1, amended plat, amended.
This is what we used to be able to do by a lot line adjustment until the legislature required an amended plat every time we move a lot line between lots in a subdivision. We're trying to still work through that with our Senator Vickers and propose changes to that law, but this is the result. So this is a subdivision, Chuck Shawnee Cliffs, where we had an old lot line that went like this, and now we just want to make the lot line go like this. And it's the same acreage on each lot. It's an issue of driveway location and being able to amend those lot lines. So that's what this is, an amended plat that we have sent letters out to adjacent property owners. No public hearings required because both signatures of both property owners are on this. This is a partial amended plat of lot 60 and 61. Again, here's the criteria. Planning Commission just needs to determine that no one has been materially injured by the proposed alteration or amendment, and we have not received any response from any of the letters that were sent out. I don't know if there's anyone here to talk about it today, but that's where we're at. And this, of course, did not go to the Planning Commission because it's just an amended plat for the County Commission to consider.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the amended plat, partial amended subdivision plat for lots 60 and 61 Chuck Shawnee Cliffs, Phase 1, amended plat, and the description within the agenda. And this is 2229 South and 2207 South Chuck Shawnee Cliffs Lane, Canairville, Utah.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. We'll go to number 9, discussion and possible approval of funding request for the Iron County Rural Planning Organization, RPO, for FY 2023 and recommended by the Iron County Government Council of Government in the amount of $44,000 to be paid from the planning portion of the Iron County Local Corridor Preservation Funds.
I think that pretty much explains it right there in the title. The request is an annual request, and it's broken up into 2 payments. We do one for every 6-month period, and it's worked well for us. We've appreciated our relationship with the RPO, which is made up of all of the cities have a representative, And we have the executive committee as well as the technical advisory committee that meets monthly. Every other month, the advisory committee meets, and then on the off month, when we have coordinating council, the council of governments meets, or the executive committee. And so it's helped with projects and coordinate with the STIP from UDOT, and we've got a lot of good work done through this program. And because it can come through the planning funds, it doesn't come out of any of the general fund monies and doesn't take away from any other programs. It's one of the only things that can be used with this money besides acquiring rights of way. So we feel it's money well spent, and believe that it's in the best interest of the county.
Okay. Chair calls for a motion.
I'll move for approval of the funding request from the Iron County Rural Planning Organization for fiscal year 2023 as recommended by the Iron County Council of Governments in the amount of $44,000 to be paid from the planning portion of the Iron County Local Corridor Preservation Fund.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we'll go on to number 10, discussion and possible approval of proposed annexation in the corporate limits of Paraguna Town. Proposed annexation leaves an annexed island and peninsula and require the town and county to agree.
Thank you. Under state law, as identified here, except as provided in subsection 1C, an unincorporated area may not be annexed to a municipality unless the annexation will not leave an island or an unincorporated island or peninsula unless the city or county have otherwise agreed. In other words, you're familiar with this process, and we've talked about this quite a bit in terms of cities trying to annex property and leaving messes of unannexed properties that make it difficult to provide services when jurisdictions are crossing back and forth. And I don't know what happened there.
It jumped a long ways.
Oh, man. Let me run quickly down and show you the map and why this is considered a peninsula. This is a property that I've met with the Paraguna Town Planning Commission in reviewing their project area. And this is the property survey. This is the letter. As you're aware, the clerk's office, when a notice to annex comes in, a notice of intent to annex property, the Iron County Clerk's Office is notified. They send a letter. This is the letter. It talks about the fact that the Iron County Commission will provide a recommendation on this and discuss this at the May 5th meeting. We did that. The Planning Commission reviewed this, and this is where the property is located. This is the Paraguna Town. Everything that's in the unshaded area. The shaded areas are county properties and the associated zoning. When we look at a property, as we zoom in here, you can see that this property is adjacent to the town on this part. As we go back here, this is where the town, where the lot is right here. This portion of this lot is in the town, fronts on Center Street, and the back portion of the lot, which is a separate parcel, is not in the city, and it's their desire to annex it so that they can serve that with their water and have that be part of the same lot that they would combine together into a single parcel in the city or in the town. But when we do that, it leaves an unannexed portion. This is what exists currently as what's unannexed in the town. And the town wraps around it on this side here. This is all in the town on both sides. And you can see that the portion, as I zoom in here just a little bit closer, you can see that the definition of an unannexed peninsula is that if you draw a line anywhere from the city to the city, so this would be in the city right here, the closest distance is this distance right here. And it leaves this much right here. So this distance of where the unincorporated area touches the incorporated area is 2,168 feet, and the distance across this opening is only 306 feet, which is 14%. In order for that not to be a peninsula, it has to be more than 25%. In other words, the opening has to be larger than a quarter of what's touching in order for the city to be able to annex it without the county's input. Because it's less than 25%, the county has to agree to the annexation before it can be annexed into the town, and that's what we're doing here today. The Planning Commission reviewed that. I'll just show out here, this whole thing is a peninsula. This whole thing is only 15% across this opening right here across the bottom. That's only 15.8% of the distance of what is the shortest opening across. And so a lot of these problems were created when, prior to the law that now requires this, it was still against the law to annex an island or peninsula, or leave an island or peninsula when you annex property, but the county was never involved. We never knew that this was occurring. A lot of these annexations were done without any notification to the county. And so it's been helpful. We have this checklist that we've reviewed. I wanted to just show that we review this with the city. We sit down with the applicant and the city and go through this checklist. It's essentially reviews this criteria: the eligibility, roads, services, impacts to remaining property, compatibility for the land use, annexation agreements, what may make it difficult for municipality for other people to annex. One of the biggest challenges we had here, for example, was Cedar City would require, when you annex it, you had to bring water. Now they've realized that that creates a lot of problem for people annexing because they want to continue to farm it, and they don't want to be annexed because they'd have to give up their water. Well, now Cedar City changed that when we went through this process and showed where the problems were being created, that now they are just requiring water upon development, not upon annexation. So it allows people to annex without having those difficulties. And so we talk about those and kind of go through those. And the county commission has outlined this process that we go to the Planning Commission and we notify of the next Planning Commission meeting when the county clerk sends out the letters of intent to the property owners within 300 feet. And then that gives them an opportunity to come in and talk about that with the Planning Commission. The county Planning Commission can then make a recommendation. And that's what's occurred in this case. And so the Planning Commission recommended approval. I just wanted to show this map in relation. We should be getting soon the septic tank density analysis study from the UGS, the Utah Geological Survey. This was the service area that we looked at and identified around Paraguna. This area certainly is within that area. And septic tank densities are really important, of course, in relation to our groundwater contamination and the future of being able to have a density that would be appropriate for septics that don't contaminate the groundwater. And so as we evaluate these situations, especially in Paraguna and around in Parowan, where they don't have the ability to serve because of pump lift stations and grades, and in Canaryville, in Newcastle, and in Summit, where we're doing these studies, annexation becomes a component in terms of density and what we would want to see happen there. If they're already at a higher density, we may not agree to the annexation if they don't make larger lots, if it's going to be a contamination problem. So there are a lot of things that play into that, but as the Planning Commission reviewed the criteria and talked about that for the future, then they felt that that would be in their best interest and go ahead and annex this property now, given the fact of the size of the lot and its already connection to an existing lot.
Is it the same folks then?
Yes,
it's the
they
same
own
person.
The same property.
So they don't need an access back.
No,
to there.
but what we found in the discussion with Paraguna Town, and they've been really helpful in trying to evaluate this, is that it will help provide an access. There's not a 100 South anywhere here. There's no access through these properties, and some of these properties are landlocked as it is. Mm-hmm. This will facilitate that. This property owner has agreed with the annexation that he would make provisions for a road along the south side of this property, and that he would then be able to have access also through here, and they can connect this road right here on through to this property in the future, be able to go over here let me step back to that other map and show that that could connect over to 100 South on this side, because a lot of these properties, this road kind of goes through there, but it's not a dedicated road. But we believe that because of the annexation of this property will facilitate the provision of that road and provide better access to other properties, and then facilitate their ability to annex. The policy in the past has been that the county would agree to annexations that are within an already existing peninsula to help fill it in, as long as it's not creating any problems for other properties. In this case, we can't identify that it's creating any problems
Sounds like
for
it's
any other
solving some
property.
problems with the road access, right?
And it's actually improving the situation. So that's why the Planning Commission recommended approval, and staff believes it is in the best interest of the county to have this property annexed into the town.
Okay. I'll call for a motion.
I'll move to approve the proposed annexation into the corporate limits of Paraguna Town. The proposed annexation leaves an unannexed island or peninsula and requires the town and county agree, which we are doing right now with this motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. All right, we'll go to 13, discussion and possible approval of two.
Excuse me.
Okay. Whoop. What do we need to do?
Which one are you on?
That was 10.
Right. I'm done.
We skipped
11 was the hospital.
11, and then we skipped. This one is going to come next time, so we're on 13.
Okay.
Is that going to?
I just didn't know when you wanted to sign these. Should we just leave them until you take a break later and then we'll sign
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll wait.
Okay.
If you need to go, we can hurry and do it. can't we?
Yeah.
You need to run, Reed?
You're going to stay and
Pardon?
eat, aren't you?
Well,
It's up to you. We can hurry and sign them if you want us to. Or wait.
well, how long are you going to be? Do you know?
Wow. We still got a little bit
A
more.
break
Not
for
too
lunch, or are
bad,
you
though.
just going to try to hit through?
Let's just sign them and let him do it.
Should we just sign them?
Yeah,
He's
that'd be
out
great.
of
Thank you. Sorry. Nope. Pull you away.
What's that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me. Do you have the schedule? Did you send me the? Yeah. I can remind. I found the reminder. Oh,
wait, there's more. help, you know.
Have to juggle some things.
Good.
Here.
The whole time or not. I'll figure it out.
Okay, I think we are going to skip to number 18 for Brian Head. Discussion and possible approval for,
I was going to say,
is that okay?
Mr. Reardon's here
For
on 13.
Oh, on 13? Let's do that one first, then we'll go to 18. Is that all right? Okay. Discussion and possible approval of 2 local consent permits. I'll just let you talk about
Okay,
them.
perfect. My name's Jaden Burden. I'm with IG Winery. This year will be our 4th annual Utah Wine Festival. It takes place over Labor Day weekend. This year we're adding 3 events. One event that we're adding is called Epicureans on the Edge. It'll be a wine pairing dinner that'll take place on Right Hand Canyon Road up across from the Sea Trail. It's on property owned by Linford and Nelson, and we're just seeking local consent so that we can pair wine to that dinner.
Very good.
Great.
Can I have a motion?
Yeah, I would move to approve 2 local consent permits requested by IG Winery for the event Epicureans on the Edge to be held near, well, just as described.
September 3rd.
September 3rd.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Pick the signed form up back.
While we've got you here, let's just take care of it. That's good. I'm glad you're.
Can we go ahead with,
I would.
let's go to 18 then. Discussion and possible approval for Brian Head Town to acquire a lot from Iron County. This is an unbuildable parcel along the east edge of the meadow in Brian Head. Brian? Brett?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
I never was called Brian very often in my
Well,
life until
I
I
don't know
took
why
this
I
job in
said
Brian
Brian.
Head. And
Brian Head.
yeah, Brett Hauser, Brian Head. The previous town manager was Bryce Hatterley, something with the BHs. I don't know.
Yes.
But hopefully you've got. I don't know if it's necessary to pull up a picture of the parcels there. But hopefully you guys are familiar with the parcel that I'm talking about. The meadow is just kind of that large open space that we have right in the middle of Brian Head. The town owns the bulk of it in a couple, 2-3 parcels in there. And then there's just a long skinny parcel runs right along the edge that the county owns. I haven't bothered to look into
why
the
is that?
history there.
When I was looking at the
I think the
packet,
county
I
might
was-
have owned the road at one point in time, that village.
Oh,
way.
maybe.
Possibly. Perhaps before the area was annexed into Brian Head. Anyway, it's just been sort of this oddity, and I think historically we've just kind of treated it almost just like a shared piece of public property. We've been looking harder at our traffic and transportation issues in Brian Head, which are not absurd right now, but certainly growing, and the parking issue is absurd at times, I would say. And so we worked jointly with UDOT on a commercial corridor transportation study through that area, and had stakeholders representing various agencies. I believe Reed, he's left. I believe Reed was participating on behalf of the county for that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we looked at.
Which piece is it, Brett? Could you show us?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't
go. It's going to be north of the Giant Steps parking lot there. There you go. There you go. Oh, yep.
right there.
Negative. The long skinny strip along Village Way.
This one?
That's correct. That's the parcel.
So this guy right here.
Yeah,
Yep.
that one.
And then the all the other pieces out in that meadow are owned by the town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
So we call this area our village core. There's not a ton. I mean, there's not a ton of commercial in Bryan Head, or traditional resort sort of commercial that you would expect in Bryan Head as it is. But that which we have is largely along there. It's in those two buildings at the, I'll call it the south end of Village Way there. The one with the green roof and the one with the white roof. That's what we call the mall. The one with the white roof. That's if you've ever gotten pizza at Tony's. Paisanos, sorry, is what it's called. Then you know,
We haven't. It's very
that
good.
building. Yeah. Next time, get the meatball sandwich.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my.
Hey, that's my mission.
Okay, that was the. All right, well, now we got the important stuff out of the way.
That is the important.
But that little slice of land there, currently you can see there's an OHV trail that runs along the west edge of that road. Thank you. And it kind of dives onto that narrow parcel and then into the town parcel down at the south end. And so we've kind of been using that parcel jointly. And I've seen an agreement at some point in time, you know, some sort of
Maybe instead of
license
selling it, we
agreement.
should charge a toll.
Yeah. We're actually, as part of this study, we looked at that Village Way street and said, look, I'm sorry, I missed saying something. The idea behind the Village Core, if you see the big green area to the right of Village Way, that area is all privately owned and is supposed to be a pedestrian-oriented commercial district. Okay, so the idea is you'd park on the street, or perhaps in some sort of public parking area or structure that yet, you know, that doesn't exist yet, and then you would get out and walk through pathways that go through kind of a commercial village, you know, like you might see in, say, Vail or the North Village at Mammoth Lakes and different places like that. South, I would say south, what's it called? Lower, I can't remember what they call it, man. Lower Main Street or Lower Park Ave in Park City is another example of that.
Yeah.
So that's the concept there. While the meadow on the left side of Village Way would remain open space and preserved. So that's the basic idea there. You get the traffic, the main commercial traffic off of the highway and into this commercial district. That said, we're actually dealing with a relatively narrow, I mean, not super narrow, but a relatively narrow right-of-way through there, and it's a little tough to squeeze a lot of parking out of there. We've had a few parking plans drawn up, and one of the parking plans that we have drawn up would entail acquiring that strip of land from the county and widening the right-of-way through there, and then eventually acquiring more land from developers along the front to get additional parking in there. What would be ideal would be to have parking on both sides of the road and a strip of parking down the middle.
Parallel parking or like, what's
I
that
think
called?
angle
The angle
parking
parking.
down the middle,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
So that we're just trying to maximize the parking that we can get along there, so that we can develop that commercial village the way that's anticipated. And so we could continue just kind of working together, you know, and
How do we
or
usually
we
do
could-
those like that? Do they acquire them? How do we usually?
As far as
move
disposing
forward?
of the property?
Yeah.
So I could prepare a deed, and if the commission votes on it, we could just transfer it. If you wanted to negotiate a price, you could do that. If you wanted to just transfer it to Bryan Head in the public interest, you could do that. You have a lot of options.
Okay. What was your proposal?
Well, seems a little
Imagine.
presumptive for me to come in here and say, "Would you give that to us for
Yeah.
free?" But I just wanted to start a
Is
conversation.
there
about it.
Wanted to do an appraisal for the value of the land.
Yeah.
That would be so. I mean, you could approach it several different ways if you wanted to make sure you got your.
How many acres is that? Is there a?
It is 1.49 according to the website. 1.49. So does that seem right in your reckoning, Brett?
Size-wise?
Yeah.
It looks about it.
Is there some kind of trade we can make? Is there anything that we possibly could benefit from up there that you don't need, that trade land for land? Or?
Yeah, possibly. The town owns a bunch of land. That's a really good idea, trade. The town owns a bunch of land. Scroll up.
Seems like we were talking about some property by your shed, your maintenance shed, and it seems like, wasn't there a discussion a while back we needed, I can't remember what that was.
Where's that? Where's that? Isn't that shed up the hill?
That's on
just a
Well,
little?
the shed's on the south.
That's on Forest Service ground, I think.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the discussion.
Yeah, and we're kind of surrounded by Forest Service there, but
Oh, there's your shed.
yeah. So, but the town owns a bunch of property. Think it directions northwest corner of the town, and including property that's outside of the town, out in the county area. Large chunk of property out there. I don't know if any of that's useful at all, but at least it's out in the county where it maybe has a chance of being useful for you guys. I don't know if
You're
there's
talking
anything
about
in
this
town that would be
piece
useful.
that's adjacent to the resort here.
Correct.
Okay, that's right on the kind of the ridge, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so it'd be coming down the west side of the ridge.
I think that's a good conversation to have, to maybe trade. We always are needing something for our road department or that type of thing.
Would that be taking away, is that commercially viable, that one?
Well, commercially viable?
I mean, I just wonder.
How many acres is
developable
that?
it?
That's a bigger piece. We could
So
maybe
that's
just
247 acres, and it might actually.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I
Descriptions.
think we'd be talking about cutting off a little chunk of it or something.
Yeah.
that maybe
Yeah,
is in a
that's
spot
what I was
that would be
thinking.
useful to the county at some point. But also, I mean, I would point out that whole area is kind of in our annexation area, so I don't know.
Oh, it is all in your annexation.
It was just a thought. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what kind of
Have to noo-
precedent
yeah,
you
I'd have to
set. and
noodle
it
on
might
it.
be cleaner to just trade for something. I don't know what the.
Yeah. But if it's in the annexation, but maybe it is a good conversation to have with our public work director to see if that would be something that he would.
So there's
feel
this,
like there
this
was
piece
something they
here, and there's some exposed rock there. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, like you say, having material closer to a project saves us tons of money.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is
Yes.
there some place we could trade you acre and a quarter of?
I don't know if
it has
that's
a gravel pit or something.
quality gravel or not, or whatever. But
Yeah,
how urgent?
We got to the point where we were having to blast for that gravel and
Right
so
here?
we kind of shut it down. We're eyeballing that as perhaps a site for future affordable housing development or something like that. But
How urgent?
another idea might be we're hoping to either expand our existing facility on the Forest Service through an amendment to our special use permit, or to there's a proposed annexation, as you guys are well aware of, out in the what do they call that, Aspen Meadows. So that's the northeast corner where your cursor's at, John. And they're talking about donating some land for a public works facility out there, and maybe we could work on something where there's a space there for some county equipment as well, or something like that. There's all
And
kinds
what's
of
your
things
thoughts?
we could look at.
Did you catch this conversation? They want us to give them an acre and a quarter of a little sliver of land right there
Kind of a funny little.
in town.
But it's right in the middle of town.
And I.
Big enough to build a jail on, so
No. Dang.
You had to bring that up.
It's been such a nice meeting too.
George, would you take care of him? So, I mean, what do you think? What would be the cleanest thing that we could do? Maybe trade him for a piece of land somewhere else. I mean,
trade is always good. With another government like this, we have some latitude if it's in the best interest of the county and Bryan Head. We have latitude to dispose of land kind of creatively like that. If it's a private entity, we we have to go through a whole different process of
Right.
making it fair to everybody. But if it's another governmental entity and we're benefiting citizens of Iron County, we have to, of course, look after citizens of Iron County and also Bryan Head citizens. So, yeah.
Does it set a bad precedent to gift something like that to a community, or is it better
I
to?
think as long as you have the justification to answer to somebody else in the county that says, hey, why did you do that?
Right.
It's unfair.
That's why I thought a trade might be.
Yeah, trade
would
is
be
certainly
good.
a lot more tempting.
Well, if it's for the development of more commercial, if it's going to help facilitate the development of more commercial, I mean, that would be a clear benefit for both Bryan Head and the county.
Yeah, taxes that way.
So there's an operational consideration. Do we have an operational need for it? Or is it something that we use for generate tax bases?
Because we're just basically talking expanded parking and stuff right there, right? For
Yeah,
for the commercial on the other side of the road to
expand
allow
the
more
right-of-way.
vehicles into the proposed commercial area.
To play devil's advocate to Dan's point, which I agree with Dan, but if we were to try to sell that to a private individual, I mean, I don't know how much commercial viability there would be, and there's certainly a part of that would go against what Bryan Head's hoping to accomplish. If you want to go all the way down that rabbit hole, you could say, well, yeah, but because it might be commercial viable, there should be, some monetary value, but to Dan's point, if it's something that will benefit the residents of Bryan Head, the citizens of Iron County, potentially increase tax revenue, I think you could certainly justify it.
We had a similar discussion.
I'm sorry, Dan. Could you speak to the microphone? I'm not good to.
I mean,
we've had similar conversations recently with Enoch City and trying to help with that whole defunct subdivision and what is the highest and best use for them. I mean, that's appropriate for the county to do things like this.
That's a good parallel there. They were talking about flood basins and things. So there's certainly a place for those kind of exchanges that maybe not necessarily. We don't, get our pound of flesh out of the property as far as cash value or trade, but it is for the public good.
I don't know whether we want to move on this today.
Urgent is it for you?
Right? I don't think it's like urgent. Like I said, I just want to get the conversation started.
Yeah.
Noodle on it. I hadn't gone as far as to like look at different properties that might make sense as a trade, and so maybe we ought to take some time to do that. And just run that ground ball out before we start making any decisions.
Well, that'd be good.
Okay.
We're certainly willing to work with you. I mean,
Do we have any staging area up there for any of our road department or anything like that?
I don't.
For stuff up on top of the mountain beyond that?
We do in Parowan, but I'm not sure up on the mountain. Maybe that would be a.
We work with Bryan Head on the garbage stuff, which is kind of most of our operation up there, and I think the roads are mainly UDOT, but. The more this county develops, the more that we're going to have to be up there doing
we have to be up there to clear roads, so.
So there's this area here, and I don't know how much staging we do there, but that's a turnout, and then there's another one that's probably Bryan is not going to have anything for, but right here. But what were you going to say, Brett? I'm sorry.
I think I was done saying.
But we could certainly, I mean, if you'd like, we could maybe chew on a little bit and see if there is something of value that we could maybe carve off for the county. Maybe.
Yeah, I can talk to.
Maybe Bruce could take a look at this thing right here.
See if there's.
You said you had to start blasting.
It was.
Well, yeah. The last time we were able to get any material out of that, we were having to blast to get it, and the council kind of shut us down at that point. But
okay.
But yeah, let's probably go to. You mentioned Bruce, and we should get Bruce and Aldo, and let's get the smart people in the room, and then we'll maybe be able to come up with with an answer there.
And that's a. Let's discuss it, and then. But yeah, we're willing to work with you on that for sure.
Awesome.
The council.
Awesome.
Mission.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Okay, we will go back up to number 14. Discuss some possible commitment to the Parowan Prevention Coalition of $10,000 per year for 5 years. Oh, and there she is.
Hi.
And we discussed this last time, and I don't know, was you here when Paul gave his report?
No.
Okay.
Well, because you talked with Mike, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and so I brought it up in the last meeting. But good news, not that we wouldn't have supported you anyway, but this is a perfect fit. We received, I think we're getting approximately, I don't quote me on this, but I think it's about $120,000 a year for 18 years on this opioid settlement. And and I got the MOU, and I can email it to you guys from Mike Deal, and it lists purposes of what you can spend that money, and this is for prevention. This is something we can spend that, so that's a perfect fit to use some of that money to help you guys. And
Absolutely.
When we met in fact in Panguitch, we had our board meeting, and on the wall was the Panguitch Prevention Coalition. Is that what you call it? Yeah. And so they had one over there, and I asked the commissioners from Garfield County how that was working. They said it's awesome. So I think it's a great program. So
Thank you.
But thank you for letting us have an extra couple of weeks to
course.
meal over that.
Yeah.
And that was good for us. I think we can. Do you have anything else you would like to?
No, unless you guys have any questions. I don't have anything extra to add.
I think we can probably have a motion on that.
It's you. You're up.
So with that, I'll move to approve the commitment to the Parowan Prevention Coalition of $10,000 per year for 5 years, and that to be used from the opioid settlement money we received, which I think is a perfect fit.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Timing on that, did that take a couple years to start? So you want to?
I don't know. Let me forward you this email from Mike. He just sent it to me again this morning.
It
'cause I couldn't
may
find
be
it.
a
Let me
year or
send it to
so
you.
out. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Or I mean, would
No.
you be willing to cover it with general fund money in the meantime, or when that becomes available?
I was under the impression it was pretty quick.
Coming?
It was
Oh.
settled.
Oh.
We'll have to look into that. I don't know the answer to that. Could we use some of our county funds and then reimburse later? Maybe is that possible?
Okay.
So, well,
we'll
I'll add that-
figure it out.
A post-performance type.
That's not your problem. So, all right. Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you. I appreciate your guys' time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did we vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't write it down, but okay.
Forward,
Voted.
Did we?
So I said.
We did.
I said.
And you said second, and everybody said aye.
Yep,
Yeah.
everybody said aye. Yep.
didn't
We'll
write
go to 15. Discussion and possible approval of debris plan on Annex D of the Iron County Emergency Operation Plan. George Colson.
Good morning again.
Morning.
Yeah, it's
Here
still
you
morning.
come back again.
Just barely.
Barely.
To Paul's point, this is yet another update to the general plan.
Yes.
Just to
Just saying.
Just saying. And John got a copy, and I believe I sent you all a copy. I hope you had a chance to look at it. While the county, I'm responsible for writing the county emergency operations plan. It's a general plan, and when you start getting down into the weeds about certain things like debris management or radio security, those become annexes. This is the first annex that we've really added to the emergency operations plan since I've been in this job. Not only did I send it to you, but Bruce and I sat down and went over it because he's really the guy who knows about that kind of stuff. And Bruce suggested a couple of changes, which I was more than glad to incorporate. So I would like go ahead.
So where did this come from? Was this something state mandated, or
No.
was this from last year when we had all that debris?
Well, and actually I'd started thinking about it much earlier than that, because that's what you pay me for, is to look at all the bad stuff that's going to happen in a couple of weeks from now, and we need to be planned for it. But the floods just reinforced that, and so after that I decided to sit down and write the plan. And so I'd like approval to be incorporated into the Iron County Emergency Operations Plan as Annex A.
Very good.
Or D, I'm sorry.
Great, I'd move.
Working on Annex A, so.
I'd move for approval of a debris plan as Annex D to be put into the Iron County Emergency Operations Plan as requested by our emergency manager, Mr. Colson.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to number 16, discussion and possible approval of MOU with Utah State Library for operations of Iron County Bookmobile for 22-23 year. And that Dan Jessen will take us through that.
You should have a copy in your packet. This is pretty not boilerplate, but this is just an extension of the current agreement at the same rates, $130,000 a year, which comes from the levy, the mill levy that's for the library tax. The balance goes to the city libraries. This is the portion that we assign to the state library, which runs the Iron County Bookmobile. So pretty standard. No changes from prior year. Don't know if you have any questions I can answer. I do my best.
I think we're good. Can I call for a motion?
Okay, I'll move to approve the MOU with the Utah State Library for operation of Iron County Bookmobile for 2022 through 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Let's go to 17, discussion and possible approval of local consent permit requested by Warehouse Bar and Kitchen for the event Chris Peterson concert, which the Peterson is S-E-N.
Oh, misspelled.
Because my maiden name was S-E-N. And I always tell him that we're related. So, to be held at Iron Springs Resort on June 23rd, 2022.
Okay, so this is one that was already approved,
that's
but the
what
date,
I thought.
the date they had to move the date.
Change. So we had
And
to.
so it was moved from July to June. So that's really the only difference on this one. It was a local consent permit that Commission already approved, but the date moved up to June 23rd.
Very good.
Great. Move for approval of local consent permit requested by the Warehouse Bar and Kitchen for the event Chris Peterson concert. And the new date will be June 23rd, 2022 at Iron Springs Resort.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. And we did 18 already. So now we go to 19. And Dan Jessen will take us through this award and of request for proposal for architectural design service of the Iron County Jail and Sheriff's Complex.
Okay, so we have not up to this point had a design team on board. We actually used Babcock Design to do a feasibility study for the jail, but we needed to go ahead and do an RFP, and so that we could bid this out. We are not required under state law or our own procurement code to put this out to RFP, but we wanted to cover all the bases. We wanted to certainly give any firm the opportunity that wanted to. We only received one bid, and that was from Babcock Design, who did the feasibility study. You guys have a copy of it. I just wanted to read the one paragraph from their thing. It says, Babcock Design is thrilled to provide Iron County with our qualifications for the A&E, which is Architectural and Engineering selection for the new Iron County Jail and Sheriff's Complex. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with Iron County for the past several months, providing consulting services and a feasibility study to assist you in determining the scope, site, and conceptual layout of your new facility. The dedication of the Commissioners, Sheriff's Office, and great people of Iron County shows your commitment to the safety of your community. And this new facility will be of great benefit to you and your citizens for years to come. As a side note, I do want to point out that the site, although you guys did vote on a site, obviously we've talked about slowing things down. The site is not set in stone. But we do feel it's appropriate to go ahead and make the award on the architecture and engineering so that we can start the design process. There's so many of these things. I constantly refer to it as a chicken and the egg, that when we start thinking about costs and we start thinking about conditional use permits and all these things, everybody always needs the design and wants to talk about the design. The design process takes months, and so there's a lot of questions that we frankly can't answer until we have the design. So the whole idea is that we get a design architect in place. We can proceed at whatever pace the commission wants to, under the understanding that that we're still trying to work through details on exactly which site. So it's up to you all how we proceed with that, but there's no reason why we can't select the people that we will work with. So that's what we're here to do today.
Well, and we can start designing the inside of the gel.
Yeah, I think one of the things we need to do is once we kind of catch our breath a little bit, we need to sit down. We need an internal committee, and we can sit down with the architect and say, okay, what things can we design that have nothing to do with the site, and is there stuff we can work on in a committee like that? And if they say, well, the site is really critical, then maybe we wait till we have a site. If they say, oh yeah, there is 2 months of work we can do before we even get to site-specific stuff, then maybe we go ahead and get going on that. But we don't really know until we have that meeting and sit down with them kind of on an in-depth. But anyways, I do want to say we'd only received one bid, but it wasn't for lack of trying. We went above and beyond even our own procurement. We put it on the state's site. I worked with the state procurement division, which CIB really likes to see whenever they loan money on a project. So this was broadcast to the world. I know we had several firms that were interested. There were several firms that asked about it and things like that, but we did only receive one bid. It was a competitive nature because everybody thought they were bidding against multiple other bidders. In the end, I think the reason we only received one bid is these buildings are super specific. The criteria and the knowledge that goes behind knowing how to build one well. I think there's probably a lot of architects and engineers that's knowing that they're going to kind of be the expertise here that probably decided maybe to bow out. Babcock Design, if you look through here, they have built they have been involved in multiple correctional facilities. Davis County Jail, Medical Bay, Kane County. They were the architect on the Kane County Jail, Sand Peak County Sheriff's Complex, which includes a jail, Uinta County Jail, Ute Tribe Jail. So and they have, it's not everybody, we all know Rob, but they do have a full team of people. So anyways, personally, my own personal opinion, I don't even know if you want it, but I'm going to give it to you. I think these guys will do an awesome job, and I would recommend that you select them, even though we only had the one bid. But that's about all I have to say about it. One thing I will say is their fee structure is a percentage of the total construction cost. So we don't know exactly what the total construction cost is at this point, but their fees are a percentage. If we do a single pot option, they bid that at 6.93% of construction cost. If we did a two-pot option, it would be 6.73. So they save 20 basis points, which is 0.2 of an interest rate, of an interest percentage, if we were to do a slightly larger. And that makes sense because a lot of their work gets duplicated on the second pod. So
right.
That's really what that boils down to. So that's all I have to present to you.
All right. Get a motion?
I'll move to award the request for proposal for architectural design service of the new Iron County Jail and Sheriff's Complex to Babcock Design, who was, as Dan mentioned, was the only bidder, but it was competitive in nature, and we followed all of the correct rules and went above and beyond, in fact.
Yeah, we did.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. All righty, we'll go to 20, discussion and possible approval to sell current bleachers at the fairgrounds. And this was, we discussed this in a meeting, and we had a bid to upfit it so that it would be legal, and it was a lot of money. I think it was $30,000 just to upfit that little set of bleachers. So we kind of felt that we probably should just go ahead and sell it. Maybe some individuals could use it for their home bleachers, arena or whatever. So anybody else have any thoughts on it? I hated to eliminate that much seating, but we added so much with the new bleachers and with the grassy area that we're going to put in. We felt like that.
Yeah, I think those compliance concerns were the overarching.
Yeah, if someone was to get hurt, and they're we've been using them, but a child could fall right down between those.
They're an older style.
It's an older style.
Yeah.
The rest of them are all compliant. That's the only set that wasn't. So
bless me.
So 2 things. One, an insurance claim could cost easily.
Money more times.
Yeah.
And
That's
2,
what we felt.
we can probably get some money out of these. And if we were going to spend $30,000, we might as well put it into new bleachers rather than the other. That was my opinion.
because they're still not he would have had to take a bunch more to make an aisleway up the middle. That's why it was so expensive. So if we had got a new set, it would be way better for us as a county.
Well, and so much as of what's happening over there has been a facelift, and I mean that certainly wouldn't hurt that, but yeah, I think the overarching thing is compliance and just the risk. We'd hate to have anything happen.
The other thing is it's way out, kind of away from it, and because of it being that far out, it wasn't as good as seats. We'll be able to put the portables closer, so it's going to make it those be better seats too. So we felt like that was the best option.
Fall into that plan maybe a little bit better.
Yep. Okay, get a motion.
Put my glasses on. Move for approval to sell those bleachers that we just talked about at the fairgrounds.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, personnel. Jennifer, we'll let her go through all of these.
Jenny Beddish was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and interview process to backfill the vacant part-time Secretary 1 position, effective date 5/23/2022. Charles Day, Jaron Ford, Tyler Snyder, and Eric Roman have completed all requirements for promotion from a Deputy 1 to a Deputy 2 status, effective date May 29th, 2022. And Ryan Sessions has completed all requirements for promotion from a full-time medical technician Deputy 1 to a full-time medical technician Deputy 2, effective May 29th, 2022.
Should we approve that much so far? Or
That's it.
I would move to
That was all of
approve.
them.
That's the whole
That was
shooting
the whole-
match.
Yeah, that was
What's
it.
that?
I'll
Hey.
move to approve in personnel item number 20, A and B, items in A 1 through 5 and B 1, as noted by Jennifer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, we're going to go to county boards. Which, does anybody have any of that? But I brought my little prairie dog because this is the last prairie dog. They took it. John finally took it off because we didn't have anybody come talk about it. So in effigy, I don't know whether we'll burn him or whatever. Bury him. Anyway, it was kind of cute because they did a little book and everything with it. But all right, motion to adjourn.
Yes.
We got lunch.
I thought it was going to go longer than that, honestly.
I did
Did
too.
you?
It was impressive.
We zoomed
I'm feeling
through
pretty
there.
good about.
Me too. Me too.
The long meetings, you hurry them through them.
I was going to say that was impressive.
That's
As we have a
what
talk
it
about
was,
it
the
day.
Prairie dog. Have you seen this book? It's so cute. It talks about all the different places in Cedar City they wanted to go to the airport, to the golf course.
You're live, Marilyn.